There were parents there of 8 and 9-year-olds who their kids are hearing some terms for sexual acts and then came back to the parents and said, "What is this?"
Ooh, that's a tough one. My daughter has memorized about 15 Nicki Minaj songs.
Oh, boy.
So she knows a little more than I am. Sometimes I go to her with questions.
What is WAP?
You know, it's an interesting moment, and it's related. When your kid drops a curse word on you, my daughter, like 9, didn't like this teacher. My daughter's this cute little thing. She goes, "Bleeping Miss what's her name?" I was like, whoa.
Working blue. Wow.
They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
We have a contender for who will be the most dysfunctional team in the NFL this season. Welcome to the chat, Washington Commanders. Perloff, we thought that just selling the team to Daniel Snyder was somehow going to magically make all these years of dysfunction go away. Well, that's not true. How are you, by the way?
I'm great. What are you talking about? The dysfunction just walked out the door. This is the one year that we're not going to pick the Commanders.
No. It's still alive and well. So out at Commanders camp, let's just paint the picture of what's going on here. So you have Ron Rivera, who is talking to the media about Eric Bieniemy, who's the offensive coordinator. And it turns out, and we only find this out because Ron Rivera told us so, that players have complained about Bieniemy's coaching style. Let's hear it.
Yeah, and I had a number of guys come to me and I said, "Hey, just go talk to him." I said, "Understand what he's trying to get across to you, and I think as they go and they talk and they listen to him, it's been enlightening for a lot of these guys. Again, you get a different kind of player from the players back in the past, especially in light of how things are coming out of college football. So a lot of these young guys, they do struggle with certain things.
Okay, so not painting the most positive picture here that everyone's on the same page in terms of communication style. So here was Rivera on Bieniemy's style.
Us as a coach, I kind of have to assimilate and get a feel for everybody. Eric has an approach, and it's the way he does things, and he's not going to change, and because he believes in it. Having been a head coach, I think Jack has a tendency to try and figure guys out a little bit more, as opposed to, hey, this is it, this is the way it's going to be, that type of stuff. Where Eric hasn't had that experience yet.
When they came to you, it was just they felt like Eric was riding them too hard, or?
They just were a little concerned.
Little concerned about his coaching style, and also Rivera sneaking in the fact that, well, for me and for Jack Del Rio, who's been a head coach, we understood that we had to adapt to the players, but Bieniemy hasn't been a head coach yet. He doesn't understand that. That's a little bit of a touchy subject, by the way, because of how many times Bieniemy has been passed over for a job. So I just don't understand why Rivera is doing all this in public. It's almost like setting the groundwork for a confrontation, if you will, or something between the head coach and the offensive coordinator.
No, not at all. First of all, it's called tough love for these players. It's finally someone's going in there and kicking ass. I am so psyched for this Eric Bieniemy accountability, Mag. It's called accountability. And I think Rivera wouldn't say this if it was a brewing controversy. Now, listen, Ron Rivera is getting honest in his old age. Remember last year he ripped Carson Wentz?
Yes.
And caused all sorts of problems for him? Well, he was right. I don't think he would have said all this if it was a real problem. The fact that he got it out there and talked about it to me says, hey, this is good. I think he likes that Bieniemy style. And yeah, maybe it rubs some players the wrong way, but you see that, Washington. What's wrong with that?
Rivera said he's a little concerned. He's a little concerned by how many guys on the offense came to talk to him about the coaching style. This is all stuff that should be handled behind closed doors.
Rivera loves it. He's a tough guy. He might say he's a little concerned, but the offensive coach is being too mean to his offensive players. Rivera must love that.
Okay, another thing here. You also have Ron Rivera, who I would find it hard to believe that he's not on some type of a warm seat here. We're going into year 4. I know they did make the playoffs once. It hasn't exactly been stellar. And right now, you're not really expected to do much. Now, maybe no one sees you coming. Maybe Washington's a sleeping giant. But you could be on the hot seat, and everything's riding on Sam Howell. I wouldn't feel too great about that if I were the Washington Commanders. You might have a good defense. You've had a good defense that at times has not played up to their potential. That's on Ron Rivera, by the way. And then now you have an offense that has some nice weapons, and you're putting it all in the hands of Sam Howell.
Well,
I don't feel great about that.
I'm not saying it's definitely going to work, but what are the expectations for this team? I think if they have a nice season, where they win 8 games, then I think actually they might fire Ron Rivera, but no one's going to say Ron Rivera did an awful job. I think the expectations have been lowered, and they just want to see positive momentum. I think that's all they need to do. Now, keep in mind, this is a franchise that has been 7-9 or 8-8 for 7 out of the last 8 years. Yeah. They are almost guaranteed to have 7 wins. So I don't think it can be a total
It's not going to bottom out. Okay.
But
so
also
have a nice season. Okay, have a nice season.
7-9.
So you no longer have Dan Snyder. I'll get to him in a second, though. But you no longer have Dan Snyder as the easy target now as at Washington. Yeah. What do you have? You've got a new owner. And honestly, I don't care if the new owner is Josh Harris or if it's the Walmart Group or whoever has purchased into the NFL recently.
Right.
Every owner has a little new owneritis, a little bit of the itis. And that is you come in and you want something your way. You want to put your stamp on the organization kind of immediately. And the way that recently owners have been doing that is either a massive trade, Russell Wilson, Kevin Durant, if you will, for Phoenix, either a massive trade or a coaching change, sometimes both. And I wouldn't be surprised if, Ron Rivera, great guy. We love talking to him at the Super Bowl, but I wouldn't be surprised if the new owner, even if it is 7 wins, says, I don't want to see 7 wins. I've got my own vision for how this is going to go, and I'm cleaning house or whatever. Yeah. And so this is going to be kind of tense is what I'm getting at here.
Here's reality. If the owner had taken over before halfway through the offseason, Rivera would be gone. There's no reason Rivera should be there. He hasn't had a winning season in forever there. But they were just caught up in this whole Daniel Snyder thing. So I think Ron Rivera is already on borrowed time. I think you're right. If they're 7-9, which is 7-10 actually this year, then they probably will fire him. But I don't think it's going to be as messy as you're portraying it. I think they're going to say, thank you for your service, Ron Rivera.
Yeah.
Ron Rivera, he knows what's going on. So, it feels like this will be a gentlemanly split.
I got another thing for you that I think is going to happen here. And this is just me kind of following Daniel Snyder pretty closely over the last 20 years as things have gotten terrible in Washington, D.C. with that franchise. And here's just one I can see coming. Daniel Snyder is vindictive. Daniel Snyder is somebody who's petty. Daniel Snyder is somebody who always thinks that he's right and he's the victim in this whole thing. Right. These are rich people who think they're victims to me. I know this type of person, okay? I've had knowledge of this kind of person.
Yeah.
Daniel Snyder, we've not heard the last of him. And he's going to do, I think, something this year that's going to cause either embarrassment or distraction or something for the Commanders, for the league, whatever. This dude is not just going to leave here. He's upset at the NFL. He never wanted to sell the team. He was forced to sell the team. He thought it was a witch hunt. He's taken no responsibility or accountability for what happened. And I think he's got, whether it's dossiers or whatever, he's got embarrassing something on somebody, and he's going to fire these salvos this season. So I think it is going to, we have not seen the last of this guy. So Washington, whether it's on the field or whether it's off the field, the combination is going to be, I think, a bleep show. I think it's going to get to that bad. I think it's going to be bad.
I totally don't think so. I think Snyder will, if he fires off anything, it'll be against other NFL owners, right? He doesn't have any issues left with Washington, does he?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Who knows what he's got?
I don't know. I think their season is going to go much calmer than you think. Because, first of all, they have a really good GM. Martin Mayhew he drafted Bosa and Warner in San Francisco. They're loaded on defense. If they have Chase Young and Montez Sweat at full strength.
Well, I know, but we've been saying ridiculous. That for years. Yeah,
but they're never healthy at the same time. And then they have this they have a really, really good secondary. I don't know about their line. They drafted a linebacker in the first round. They have good skill positions. Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, Curtis Samuel. That's really good. They have a good running back, Brian Robinson.
These are all things they've had, by the way. You're not talking about anything that's been different besides Dotson, who was a rookie last year.
They have not gotten a healthy Young and Sweat on the field at the same time very much.
Okay, but what makes you so positive that's going to happen?
Well, it's just
they paid Daron Payne.
At a certain point, you can't just assume they're all going to get hurt. And they've been really, as you mentioned, they've had really good defenses. And they have these exciting skill position players. You're right. It's a huge risk to have a young quarterback. But think about their quarterback situation. Is this I'll tell you what's explosive: giving $230 million to Deshaun Watson, then being 6-11.
Well,
that's explosive.
Listen,
having Kyler Murray sitting there in Arizona, not sure whether he's going to play with a $180 million contract, that's explosive. Sam Howell's a 5th-round pick. If he stinks, so what? You move on. That is a gentlemanly, okay, this didn't go quite our way. Let's all part ways quietly.
Everyone's going to get fired. It's not just everyone moves on. They all get fired. That doesn't,
right.
It's not easy. It's like you couldn't do this and couldn't develop a quarterback, and everyone's gone.
Yeah, maybe, but quietly, not spectacularly. This is going to be, honestly, I think it'll barely even be a headline when Ron Rivera gets fired, if he does. It'd be like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, because he hasn't done anything of note.
Right, there's going to be...
in Washington.
Well, you're saying, like, what are the real spectacular failures next year? There's going to be 3 or 4. Last year we had the Broncos and the Colts.
Yep.
There's going to be the Washington, I just think that they're going to be too good on the field. They're not going to... if they're going to need to be 2-15 to have all these fireworks around them. Yeah, it might not work. I totally agree with you. But I think they're going to be a steady ship of mediocre football.
Well, I'm telling you, Bieniemy isn't going quietly.
Well, yeah, but that's good. No. I want Bieniemy yelling at everybody.
Okay, the players don't like it.
Yeah, of course
Whether
not,
you and I like it, that's one thing. The players don't like it.
Yeah, but honestly, why would you want an offensive player in Washington who the players do like? Why would you have that?
Well, it's not. I don't think they love Jack Del Rio, and they keep him around.
Well, according to Rivera, at least Del Rio is a step ahead. Yeah, I don't understand why Del Rio is there myself, but I think Bieniemy's a good coach. I think this is all fine.
There's a lot of pressure here, though, because this is Bieniemy leaving the Chiefs, which was a big step because he was getting passed over for head coaching jobs, and it was a major point of contention in the league, along with other black head coaches who have been passed over. And now it's like leaving the nest, if you will, of Kansas City and having to go out to a team that has, yes, some nice weapons on offense, who you're riding with Sam Howell. And they told us at the Super Bowl they were riding with Sam Howell. That wasn't even a head fake. We thought it was a smoke screen or something. They were actually going to go after someone else. And they didn't. So here's Bieniemy. This is him talking about the coaching style.
I'm always going to be loud and I'm always going to be vocal. I'm always going to demand from our leaders. But sometimes they may not like it. And I'm perfectly fine with that because that's my job. Because if I ain't doing my job, my ass get fired. It's my job and my responsibility to make sure and I'm getting our guys to do what I expect them to do.
Listen.
Love it.
You love that. It's like out of central casting for coaches, and you love it. The thing, though, is Ron Rivera said he's concerned that Bieniemy's not being flexible about this and about the players actually having an issue with it. So I'm just saying, I'm not saying whether it's right or wrong. I'm just saying it's out there now. And rather than having this happen behind the scenes, this is now you have 2 coaches communicating through the press.
I did not hear that in Rivera at all. I heard a very... in fact, almost in a strange way, complimentary quote about Eric Bieniemy. He's being too hard on guys. I told him, go talk to Eric. Eric's got a plan. I did not. Did you really hear oh, man, I got a major problem with this guy? It felt like Ron Rivera kind of wants this.
He said he's concerned.
I think he was just answering the question. Actually, can we play Ron Rivera again? Do you hear any concern in his voice? Forget the words. He sounds totally confident.
Us as a coach, I kind of have to assimilate and get a feel for everybody. Eric has an approach, and it's the way he does things, and he's not going to change, and because he believes in it. Having been a head coach, I think Jack has a tendency to try and figure guys out a little bit more, as opposed to, hey, this is it, this is the way it's going to be, that type of stuff. Where Eric hasn't had that experience yet.
When they came to you, it was just they felt like Eric was riding them too hard, or?
They just were a little concerned.
Okay, they were concerned, right? So he's saying, I've assimilated to how the players are.
Yeah.
Jack Del Rio has assimilated how the players are. Eric is not doing that, and they're concerned.
Yeah, I honestly think this is a little kick in the butt for this team. So that's what maybe I'm hopeful that Washington, because they deserve this after all those years of Daniel Snyder. Maybe Bieniemy's a jolt of energy they need. You're right. I mean, there's a possibility for total implosion. I totally get that. But I feel like there's enough talent here that they could easily pull off an 8-9 record.
Yes,
well, I mean,
they could easily pull off an 8-9 record.
8-9. I mean, listen, they're the Sam Howell's their quarterback, Maggie. If they're 8-9, we should get them some awards.
I would say that it's a missed opportunity if they actually do have this great defense that has all these first-round picks on it, that they're, investing in the defense. You got Chase Young. They did not pick up the 5th-year option. I mean, that should be motivation through the wazoo for him, former second overall pick, and then you do have nice pieces on the offense, it's like, why not? Why not try to fix the quarterback position in a more meaningful way? Were there other options? I know Russell Wilson didn't want to go there. That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, they got caught in flux where the owner came in too late to make a radical move. But I got to tell you, a lot of these radical moves by owners to bring in quarterbacks have not been great. Deshaun Watson, that was an owner-driven thing.
Sure.
Russell Wilson was kind of an owner-driven. I can't remember the timing of that. But anyway, they were a new ownership group. So if Washington went out and signed a $200 million quarterback, then we would have a problem on our hand. Right now...
They're just 1 year away from that. Don't worry.
Right now, yeah, they definitely are. But right now, they can ease into this thing, and actually they're going to be a little better. Winning will make everything okay. And I'm not saying like going 12 if I... Like they're going to be able to keep everything above board because they're going to win some games. They played Buffalo early in the season.
Oh yeah, thank you for that. 855-212-4CBS.
Oh, you're implying that they're going to win that game?
Yeah,
No. I just that was comma aside. They happen to play Buffalo.
Sure. Yes,
I didn't hear a comma in my ear.
No.
They host Arizona in week 1, so they're starting out 1-0.
There you go. Thank you.
That's better. So and then they go to Denver for then we'll have dueling possible explosions.
The bleep show off.
Yeah, I mean, there's a chance that things go okay here.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Okay, we got a lot going on today, as we usually do. We wouldn't have it any other way. Coming up, Perloff and I have a solution for college football. I don't know why they didn't ask us, but we could fix this thing in a minute. You get two brains like mine and Perloff's. You put us together. We whiteboard this thing out. We come up with solutions. That's just what we do around here. 855-212-4CBS. If not Washington, who do you think is going to be the biggest bleep show in the NFL? And please use the word bleep. It's terrestrial radio, people. 855-212-4CBS. Do you want to watch the show? Come on in. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio. Of course, you can download the absolutely free Odyssey app. It's crystal clear. You can take us wherever you go. We're on Sirius XM channel 158. Don't move. We solve college football's problems after this.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 2 minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. Minute remaining. "45 seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. "15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
We're back on Maggie and Perloff. We started off the show by talking about how Washington, according to Maggie, is going to be a bleep show.
Yep. Big time.
A lot of tweets already saying Arizona is the true bleep show.
Okay, but the thing about Arizona is that bleep show started, like, there's an ending to that bleep show that might actually be a happy ending, which is
what?
You could be the worst team in the league, and you get the number 1 overall pick because you have Houston's pick too. So you get 2 bites at the apple here. This draft could set you up for the next 5 years. If I'm Arizona, I don't even want to field a full team. I go 10 on 11.
And the thing about Arizona is we expect them to be bad. Kyler Murray's not going to be there. They might be a bleep show as far as just being bad, but I don't see drama surrounding that team.
Well, Jonathan Gannon's going to be terrible.
Well,
I mean, come on.
DeAndre Hopkins is already out.
That guy is dead man walking.
Hey, listen, we thought Sirianni was going to be a nightmare after he was doing rocks, paper, scissors at the combine. He ended up being great.
And couldn't make it through his first press conference. That was pretty...
You never know.
Yeah.
So what's the common ingredient in all these teams that we're nominating? It's bad ownership. And the Cardinals will give Washington a run for its money. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. They had Keim around forever.
Yep.
The owner is like, so I think the teams Cleveland, Arizona, Washington, bad owners make this, and Indianapolis. I'm sorry. I know he's saving
don't be sorry.
I know he's saving the whale, and I'm a fan. But,
oh yeah, I forgot Jim Irsay saving a whale.
And like, listen,
okay.
I mean, listen. Ask Jonathan Taylor about whether the Colts are going to be a bleep show. I think he will say yes. But speaking of
Matt Ryan said last year was the whole thing was a bleep show.
Speaking of bleep show, by the way, I threw out on social media the Pac-2 that we came up with yesterday, Washington State and Oregon State.
The Tupac?
Yes. Yeah. Most people said that, oh, you think this is funny. Like, yeah, what are you supposed to do about college football realignment except laugh? Because I understand it sucks that the rivalries are going away, but the whole thing has this silly, it's just silly, Maggie. Well, like some of these like marriages that are happening, that Cal and Stanford are going to ACC. And am I supposed to like really take all this seriously?
Well, this morning, the ACC, was it the presidents, I believe, got on a phone call. There was no vote taken or anything, but the ridiculousness of having Stanford and Cal in the ACC, it's like we've reached the peak. You know, like it doesn't get any dumber than that. And especially because maybe not for both sides, for Stanford and Cal, I guess I understand it, but it doesn't even help them all make more money. So for that reason, I don't know if I do understand it. Now, the only thing, in my opinion, that's keeping the ACC from basically dissolving into an iceberg, or hitting an iceberg and floating away in the ocean, just like the Pac-12 did, is because they're locked up with an ESPN deal into like 2030. If the ACC didn't have that, you don't think the Big Ten and the SEC would just go pillage the ACC for whatever they want?
Of course they would. I don't think the ACC lasts throughout that deal because so many things are changed. I don't buy any of this stuff. Anything that everyone says, in 8 years this is going to happen, that means 2 years.
Right.
It goes so much faster than everyone thinks, and anybody can get out. I don't think it's the height of chaos. What was it? And you kind of followed this closer to me. Wasn't there a time when the Big East moved out to California?
No, it was like, when Houston and, was it UConn were like in the same conference?
Yeah. I felt UConn was in some really weird conference. So they've always had this. But guess what happens? Every time they do these geographical mismatches, after 3 years, everyone says this is stupid and they find some other way. And I think that could happen here in the sense that the stupidest thing, and I know you and I agree on this, is that the non-football sports are going to be traveling for these somewhat meaningless regular season games. Yesterday we said volleyball, just as an example. Why does the University of Washington volleyball team have to travel to Maryland?
Yeah.
Yes. And then get home at 5 a.m. from a commercial flight? Makes no sense. So an idea that we floated yesterday and other people are jumping on, why not separate all the non-football sports, maybe non-football and basketball sports, stick to the traditional conferences and not make it break up regionally? Because I think there's a lot of really compelling reasons for student athletes to do this. Studying, fan entertainment. Nobody wants to see these cross-country lesser sports. There's just 100 reasons. What is the reason they can't do this? Why not? Why do you have to bring everybody with football?
Okay, I'm totally with you. I think that football should break away on its own. The other thing about football is it's once a week. It's, for volleyball, for baseball, for basketball, you're playing 3 times a week, 2 times a week. Or, for volleyball, you'll go and play a tournament, or basketball, you'll go play a tournament, holiday tournament, the coaches tournament, whatever. It doesn't make any sense when you're doing that much travel. For football, fine. You want to fly across the country and you want Oregon to go play Rutgers, fine. It's once a week. The problem is, and I don't know who's going to get their arms around this because it's definitely not the NCAA. Who's going to say, let's break away? Like, we all think it's a good idea. It's what will save this thing and will save the Olympic sports and will cause so many fewer headaches for everyone else. Like, just because it's football's world doesn't mean we all have to live in it. If you're a water polo player, you should just be able to play water polo and be in a regional conference. Who's going to be the leader who's actually going to step up and do this? There's no, the college football playoff committee, that body, they change all the time. There's no, central leadership for football.
Football has leadership.
Who's the number one guy?
Sankey.
So
it's
the
not
SEC
even close.
Commissioner. Okay, but the Big Ten.
And maybe Big Ten.
The Big Ten's going to have
there's 2 leaders.
That. Tony Petitti now is the commissioner of the Big Ten.
I'll tell you what is going to lead the way in all this is that schools are going to say, I can't afford this anymore, and they're going to break off. And this, the water polo team is going to become a club team, which it probably should be in the first place. It's not going to be NCAA sanctioned. The money is going to determine what happens here. I think at a certain point, if the football money goes away, everyone's going to say, well, it's not worth it to us. Let's just turn this, D3 school into a club school and just keep it regional. It doesn't all have to. We don't need water polo teams. I'm sorry. I know. I'm just saying, these teams will start to fall off. All these other non-football and basketball programs will start to fall off because it's ridiculous. They can't sustain this cross-country stuff.
No, they can't. But in some ways, though, that's kind of a shame because I know it's not the same type of 53 scholarships or more scholarships, but you are getting scholarships or partial scholarships for these other sports. Now, it's not everyone who's getting it, but for the women's basketball team getting scholarships, for lacrosse getting scholarships, I mean, you don't want to turn everything into club here.
I do.
Well, then you're going to take away opportunities from a lot of athletes.
Lacrosse players? Oh, I'm sure that they're really – I don't care about lacrosse players.
Well, but there are people who do. And you might not be one of them.
Lacrosse, how long has lacrosse even been an NCAA sport like that? How many schools are –
I'm using that as an example, but a lot of them do. Listen, I covered high school lacrosse, so I know exactly. Some people use it to get into Ivies if you are a more well-off person. And other people I've seen when I was covering lacrosse, there'd be people who would use that to get into school and use it as a way to get an athletic scholarship for sure.
Not like other sports, though. Lacrosse is it's like Duke.
Okay, but I'm using that as an example.
No, my point is, there are a lot of schools, water polo, USC water polo, all these – like they don't really need to be tied to this football thing. They're not real sports like football.
Yes, I agree.
So
They
make
break
them
away.
make them less formal,
But I don't want to
and they
make
play
them
regional.
club because I still want those student athletes and those young people to be able to get scholarships.
Why
to
not
go.
give scholarships to kids who need it academically? Why
They
we
do
care?
that too.
Do that solely, and like not for water polo. There should be any. I don't think does water polo have scholarships?
They might have a couple kids who get partial scholarships and a couple who get full.
But water polo, I mean, my point is, yes, I think the big sports should get scholarships. But I don't think, no, I'm not worried about the scholarships. Honestly, I'm more worried the lower sports that we're talking about, like they should just become club teams and play regionally. They should not be traveling. It doesn't help them. And I don't think a ton of them have that many scholarships. Do the you know better than me, but like a lot of scholarships go to men's and women's basketball, football, soccer, like the bigger sports.
It can generally be a little bit top heavy. So say you have like a baseball team, say you have like LSU. I don't know how many of those guys are getting, or softball. I don't know how many of those men and women are getting scholarships, but I bet the top ones definitely
that's a huge sport. That's on ESPN. I'm talking about like LSU men's baseball is a gigantic team.
Right.
But
we're talking about non-football and non-basketball.
Purdue volleyball.
Right.
If those scholarships, we do not have to really focus on that. That does not have to be dragged along with football to the West Coast.
It doesn't have to be dragged along with football.
And if it goes away, I'm okay with that.
See, I'm not okay with that.
I think, we totally disagree on that one.
I've been a little closer to the Olympic sports, I think, just by virtue of covering more of them and doing play-by-play and stuff. I do not want to see those go away. They're excellent. I've seen, incredible crowds for volleyball and for women's volleyball. I don't want those women to not have a chance at a scholarship.
Yeah. Well, I think the big women's volleyball is really exciting. Yeah, I think that should stay. But it does seem, though, like we're just dragging along way too many sports into this football world.
I think just for reference, the Division I volleyball teams can offer a max of 12 full ride scholarships.
Okay.
All through. How many Division Is are there? Is it like NCAA basketball, where there's hundreds and hundreds of them?
I do not know for sure. Oh, actually, no, I do know. 334 teams, and you have an average team that's 16.
Yep.
And then the scholarships you have 12.
That's not an insignificant amount, and that's like something to strive for, when you're coming out of high school. So I don't want to see those go away, but I do agree with you. Let's get football out of the mix here. Football is a totally different animal, and on top of that, if this is going to keep going how it's going with 12 college football playoff teams and then more and more and more, we can see where this is headed in terms of playoffs. The season's just going to get longer and longer and longer till you're basically playing football for half the year or more, basically. It's just, it's too much.
And that's the limit, by the way. That's 12 is the limit. So in theory, there are schools that probably aren't going up to 12.
Yeah, probably.
I would say, though.
Like the Penn States and the Nebraskas, they're going up to 12.
Can we just pull the Band-Aid off and admit it? It's a mini pro league. So play 15
College
games.
football.
College football. It's a mini pro league. It should be separate. And I really do believe those gigantic TV funds, a lot more of that should be going to the players. And I think they should be getting we disagree on this too. I don't think football programs, the players should be paying for non-revenue sports. Like the players should be making that money because they're the ones who are putting their health on the line for that. And they definitely should get lifetime health insurance.
Well, of course, but
but they don't now.
I know, but you got to take that up with the administrators because they're the ones who could be offering, they're the ones who don't want the football players to become employees. Right. And that's why the money is not going to the players, right? Because there's no vehicle to get it to them because they're not employees. The collectives, the NIL, right? Sure.
I would give it 3 years because the courts always support the players now. The days of protect the NCAA are long gone. The courts hate the NCAA.
Well, yes, that became clear.
Me too.
Can we? Yes, we all do. Can we play Robert Robbins, who's the Arizona athletic director? Now, I thought this was interesting. Where the Pac-12, before it dissolved, was looking at a streaming-only media rights deal. So no linear TV, no Fox, no ESPN, nothing like that. But Apple Plus was going to come in. And this is what Robert Robbins, before Arizona left the Pac-12 to go to the Big 12, this is what he said about it.
Parts of it were very, very compelling and exciting. And it was Apple. And it was, in our backyard. And but I think the base price, the guaranteed price, the fact that there was no linear and that it was subscription based, none of us, we were trying to think, well, it's going to be like selling, candy bars for Little League or, Girl Scout cookies.
Wow. I mean,
ouch.
Kind of insulting. when you consider it is Apple, as you mentioned there. I don't think that they're in the business of selling, they wouldn't buy something if it was like selling candy bars.
Does that preclude Apple from wanting to do a deal with the Big 12? Screw Arizona.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a good way to get back to the table, but this is where I think they're kind of wrong about this. I know MLS, has Lionel Messi now, Perloff, which kind of helps the subscription model that they went to, but think about in 5 and 10 years.
Yeah.
Are you better off on linear TV, or are you better off on a streaming service?
But I just think that he knew the exact number, right? And it had to be lower, right? They must have been given a slide with projections, and you're going to make this much, and this much.
Yeah.
I'm assuming, right? Like, he had to know the guarantees, and they must have been lower than current TV.
Maybe, but you're also look at the room for growth. I mean, that's
just jump back into Apple in 3 years.
I guess you could, but I would make more of a bet on a streaming service right now than I would on a linear TV service. That's for sure.
Well, yeah, I understand.
How many cord cutters are there? No one's watching linear TV anymore. It's a big issue.
But in theory, I'm sure, what is it? What's that number, 100 million that the Big Ten's getting, or whatever? I'm sure that they said, okay, you'll get like 12 million next year, right? So,
I don't know if it was that low.
Yeah, the Athletic reported that each team our school would be given $23 million annually, and then there would be targets that they could reach for additional revenue.
Right. Meanwhile, if you're in the Big Ten,
Big Ten's
I think
100,
it's like,
right?
No, per school, I think it's like 35. Wasn't it?
Where'd I get the 100?
So the new schools, Oregon and Washington, are only getting the $23 million, with every year getting, I think, $1 million bump until 2030 or something, when the new rights deal is up.
Yeah.
Then they'll be full members, but they're only getting a fraction, which I think is half of what the regular Big Ten teams are getting.
Yeah, the Big Tens get 100.
100 each?
100 million a year in their last deal.
But not each school doesn't get that.
No.
Each school.
I don't think so. I think each school gets 40.
That's what I thought.
Oh,
There's more like 40. Between 30 and 40, not 100 million each.
That's crazy. They'd be blowing the SEC out of the water, too.
They made a $7 billion deal. I'm sorry, we could double check this. I thought it was 100. I thought that number was being thrown around. But I think it's more than 30.
No, I thought it was 40. Samter had it there. It was 40 for the Big Ten schools. We'll get to the bottom of that. Meanwhile, I think we solved the problem. Just take football away.
Yeah. But we did cause a new problem. Like, what if football says that we want to keep all the money then? Eeks.
Well.
And give it to the players.
Well, I mean, I think that you can still pay the players. And listen, if these media deals keep going up and up and up and up, you might have enough to do everything. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. All right, a lot more to do. You can let us know what you think about the state of college football right now. Give us a call. You want to watch the show? Come on in. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio. All right, coming up, we've got more evidence that the world has gone completely insane. If you thought it was just maybe the world's gone insane, well, now it's official, the world's gone insane. We'll get to that after this CBS Sports Update. Here's Rich Ackerman.
Sports Flash.
And it's sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Save when you bundle motorcycle, RV, and boat insurance. Visit Progressive.com. Jonathan Taylor's battle with the Colts over a new contract continues, and today the disgruntled running back is not with the team while rehabbing his ankle injury. His absence is reportedly expected to last a couple of days. After intense reaction to his suspension, Orioles announcer Kevin Brown will reportedly return to the team's broadcast booth on Friday after being disciplined following owner John Angelos taking offense to a fairly innocuous and factual statement that only supported the team's turnaround this year. The Braves had the best winning percentage in baseball and the most wins in the National League, but are stuck on 70 after hitting a rare speed bump. They look to halt the 3-game slide tonight in Pittsburgh. Atlanta still has the largest division lead of any team in baseball, leading the NL East by 10 games. The Brewers are trying to hold off the Reds in the NL Central. They have a 1.5 lead and will be in Colorado, while Cincinnati halted a 6-game skid with their win over the Marlins last night, dropping Miami a 1.5 back in the wild card race. The Reds also a game up in the Cubs for that final playoff berth. The Cubs take on the Mets in New York. I'm Rich Ackerman.
Looking for CBS Sports Radio online? Your favorite hosts and the best sports content and entertainment are available 24/7 on social media and YouTube, and in the palm of your hand with the free Odyssey app. CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. If you'd like a little evidence that the world has lost its mind, may I present the Baltimore Orioles. The Baltimore Orioles, who have not won a playoff game, Perloff, since 2012.
Okay.
Haven't won a playoff game since 2012, right? Excuse me, since 2014. 2014, and they're on this amazing season, fairy tale season, right?
The 2014 Orioles won a playoff game? That's shocking.
Well, they lost in the ALCS 4-0, so obviously they must have played.
I don't remember that team at all, but okay, yeah, go ahead. Yeah, they're not good.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Adam Jones is offended, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Adam Jones would be offended. I loved Adam Jones, too. He's awesome. But anyway, the Orioles have been really bad for a long time. That's the point. And now this year, they're really good. They're 70-42, and they're in first place in the AL East. They're making the Yankees and the Red Sox look silly. The Rays, I mean, they're just off to this, having this incredible season after all this terrible baseball for so long. So, of course, here comes ownership, who has to put a damper on it. Now, spot the lie here. When Kevin Brown, their TV play-by-play man, is setting up the recent history between the Orioles and the Rays.
It's been a minute. The Orioles split a two-gamer with the Rays in June. They had lost their last 15 series here at Tropicana Field. You have to go back to when our now colleague Brad Brock picked up the win in the series finale, June 25th, 2017, the last time the Orioles won a series here at St. Pete.
Okay, that's it. That is enough to get Kevin Brown suspended from the TV broadcasts until he's going to be reinstated at the end of the week.
Wait, what?
Yes, exactly.
What? Now, yeah, I've heard the story, but I just heard it again. What's he getting suspended for?
Apparently, and I was reading this in The Athletic because Britt Giroli does a fantastic job covering the team. Somehow, John Angelos and the Angelos family, or somebody associated with ownership, believe that made the Orioles sound cheap. I don't know how all the losing made them sound cheap, but let's just go with the facts here. The Baltimore Orioles have the 29th highest payroll in baseball. That's one from the bottom.
But there's no mention of money.
I know. It was just because they've been so bad against the Rays. I don't know how that made them look cheap, but somehow, some way, that got construed in the minds of the Orioles brass that this was somehow a dig and a shot at the team as opposed to just telling the truth about the recent woes in Tampa and how they're turning it around.
And he actually also had I cut that part out of the cut. But he had a positive spin, being this year they're doing much better.
Yeah, they won 3 of 5, and they're off to this. I mean, everything's good about the Orioles right now. That's the point. And to now take aim at the TV broadcaster, your own broadcaster, may I also mention that according to this article in The Athletic, the game notes are something that each team's public relations team puts together before each game, and they give the media just little tidbits on what's going on with the team, trends, bios of the players, coaches, whatever. In the Orioles game notes, which is put together by the team, all of this information was right there. So why this guy gets suspended is like beyond anybody.
Yeah, I mean, they should have fired him is what you mean, right?
I mean, in Perloff's world, yes.
Let me ask you this. This sounds to me like an outsider to the Orioles and what's going. This is like typical baseball. Like, it is a sensitive sport, in my opinion. Like, in football, everybody just knocks each other's head off and move on. Like, baseball is kind of namby-pamby, and this is pretty typical of it.
Namby-pamby.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
George Carlin.
I mean, it's just kind of like, this is like, does it surprise you that this happened in baseball where they went after an announcer for being even mildly?
It's their own announcer, yes.
I know, even mildly. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. For some reason, I wasn't shocked by this whole story. And also, too, the Orioles have kind of a loser mentality, right? Because they've lost for so long. This sounds like a loser mentality. Like,
it definitely is loser mentality. Yeah. I mean, if you can't enjoy when you're 70-42 on August 8th, you'll never enjoy anything.
Yeah.
Because if you can't see what you have here and that all the losing is actually paying off, you've got these young players, you got this stacked farm system, you're set up, and you can't be happy now, you will never be happy.
I was there on Saturday, too, at Camden Yards for the Mets game, and they bludgeoned the Mets.
Yeah.
And the crowd was awesome. The fans were engaged. It was a packed house. I mean, everything is sunshine and rainbows until this news about the suspension. It's like, I don't know what else it's like they were looking for trouble.
Exactly. And you want to know the most ridiculous part about this? So apparently they like their broadcasters to wear Orioles gear on the TV broadcast. That's fine. That's totally cool. Whatever. So the person they had filling in for Kevin Brown, who they suspended for this innocuous comments or whatever, just saying the facts, apparently that person was not wearing the team-issued garb. And he was the radio announcer. So they asked Kevin, who they suspended from TV, to go do the radio broadcast. So it's like, we were offended enough to take you off TV, but radio's fine. No, go ahead, do radio.
Maggie, just be careful. If you're not, watching what you're saying about the Orioles, you're going to be suspended by Peter Angelo.
Want to know what's funny? I wouldn't be surprised. I saw a comment on the article that said, "Who owns the Orioles? Kim Jong-un?" I mean, hilarious. I was a stage manager for Masson for the Mid-Atlantic Sports Network. It was a great job. I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, listen. Okay, we are singling out the Orioles. Aren't, you guys are Yankees fans, right? Aren't they most famously sensitive about everything that happens anywhere around the organization, and they spend people all the time for nothing?
No. I mean, I think they're definitely sensitive.
Well, Steinbrenner was.
Well, yeah.
He was out of control.
But he's also been gone for a long time. Like, these kinds of stories do more harm than they do good, because look at what it's set off now. It's like you have other broadcasters who are ripping the Orioles. Like, this is Jason Benetti from the White Sox just killed him.
Somebody didn't like the facts very much, and that's a fiasco that's allowed to happen. I thought it was a joke initially when I read it.
Yeah. Well, I thought he said something really bad.
No, he did not.
Sorry, that was the Red Sox. So let's listen to the White Sox now. Everyone
they actually played Baltimore pretty well. They were 6-7 against the Orioles this year. So they lost 7 times, but they did beat Baltimore 6 times, which I hope I don't get suspended by the Orioles for saying that.
I mean, just crazy.
Yeah, it's funny too. I'm thinking some broadcasters are very negative when your team is losing, right? And they get away with it, don't they?
I mean, yes, because here's the thing. You got to keep credibility with your fans. So when things are going bad, you can't just say they're going great. Fans are too smart for that, and that it reflects poorly on the broadcasters.
Did you know, too, your buddy Gary Cohen, I was listening to Mets.
Yeah, we have that. Would you like to hear it?
Sure, go ahead.
All right.
Let me just say one thing to Baltimore Orioles management. You draped yourself in humiliation when you fired John Miller, and you're doing it again. And if you don't want Kevin Brown, there are 29 other teams who do. It's a horrendous decision by the Orioles. I don't know what they were thinking, but they've gotten exactly the reaction that they deserve.
Yeah, so they fired John Miller from Sunday Night Baseball? That guy's awesome.
Yes, John Miller is amazing.
I had no idea. Why'd they fire him?
I don't know.
Must be the same reason.
I mean, it's like, how do you screw up something good? Let me count the ways.
But that being said, though, he is coming back. Okay, maybe they learn from this.
What's he supposed to say now? Is he not supposed to give the record of the team? Apparently, they're not even supposed to mention players who used to play for the organization. It's like
wait.
Yeah.
Oh, like current players. They can mention Cal Ripken.
No, well, yes, Cal Ripken I think is the only one you can mention. But if you mention Rafael Palmeiro, I swear you are out of here.
Brady Anderson, yay or nay?
I don't know. That's dicey. 855-212-4CBS. 855-212-4227.
This actually made the Orioles so much more interesting now. How Kevin Brown walks that fine line is going to be really, really fascinating.
I wonder if he's going to get a bigger job after this, because everyone thinks he's getting it absolutely hosed. Coming up, the biggest question plaguing the Cowboys, nothing to do with Dak Prescott.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. .45 seconds remaining. .30 seconds remaining. .15 seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
I'm thinking about this year, maybe I just try to be kind of positive. It's going to be really hard.
About what?
About the Bills. I didn't need a spit take. I mean,
You can't be positive. You are so hardwired to be negative about your teams.
Listen, my whole life I've been negative about the team, and it hasn't worked. Maybe it's like a Costanza, go opposite here, and maybe something good will happen. Maybe I'm just like, they're going to pull this out. They're going to do it. They're going to win, and maybe something will change.
I don't think you have it in you.
They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Welcome into the show, Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff. Hanging out with you on CBS Sports Radio. You want to watch the show? Come on in. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio, where the Weedos and the Purple Drinkers are in full effect. We do have the latest recipe from one of our listeners, Michael in California, about what he's going to be making this week, Perloff. And I guarantee you're going to love this one. We'll get to that a little bit later with the Maggie and Perloff Weedos recipe book. Again, lots going on today.
Last week, what was it? Pork belly burnt ends?
That was 2 weeks ago. The ribs last week.
Oh, it's all good.
Yeah, this is going to be one right up your alley with some tacos, and it's going to be pretty amazing. Okay, a lot to get to, not just food related, but also college football related, because this is as the world turns. Every single day now, you're going to be hearing updates about the ACC, whether it's presidents, whether it's athletic directors, and talking about adding Stanford and Cal to the ACC. What that achieves, I have absolutely no idea what that achieves, but let's get the thoughts of someone who knows the sport inside and out, and that's Adam Carricker. He's the host of the Big Ten Show podcast on the Believe Networks. Adam, and of course, former Nebraska defensive lineman, and had an awesome career. Adam, thanks so much for the time. It's Maggie and Perloff. How are you?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
We're doing excellent. I know the Big Ten is your area, but if you could comment on the ACC for a moment, because I'm sure you're watching all of this very, very closely. I mean, Cal, Stanford, wrong ocean, guys. I mean, does this make any sense to you whatsoever?
I think the ACC is trying to do anything they can to stay around. They look at the Pac-4, and they don't want to end up like the Pac-4. They look at what the Big 12 did a couple of years ago. The Big 12 was proactive. 2 years ago, a lot of people thought the Big 12 wouldn't be around anymore. Now, if the Pac-4 goes away and the ACC is trying to stay around, but if they go away, we could essentially have three major conferences, the Big 10, SEC, bam, the Big 12 potentially. They're trying to be proactive. They're trying to avoid the mistake the Pac-12 made, and they're trying to be more like what the Big 12 did, and they're doing what they can to survive, so to speak, because they know the SEC and Big 10 are coming for North Carolina, Virginia, Clemson, Florida State, Miami, potentially, all these schools. So they're trying to be proactive.
Adam, you, of course, played in the Big 12 at Nebraska. You think if Nebraska could do it again, you know, to my mind, they sort of kicked this whole thing off. Would they join the Big 10 in 2011, I believe?
Oh, man, from a competitive standpoint, we've struggled since then. All right. Now, so a lot of Nebraska fans might be like, no, maybe not. But I look around and I'm like, well, we're in one of the two most solid conferences that exist. And the Big 12 looks like it's doing all right. And I just talked about how they might be one of the final 3 or 4 left standing, but there's no guarantees there. Is Central Florida, Cincinnati, Houston, BYU, are they going to play like Power 5 conference teams week in and week out? They've never had to. They've done it sporadically every once in a while. So I, as a Nebraska person, as a Nebraska former player and alumni and all that stuff, Big Ten guy, we're in the conference that by far gives us the most stability, which is by far the best thing any program can look for right now. So I think we're in a good situation.
Adam Carricker is joining us, host of the Big Ten Show podcast on the Believe Networks. All right, so let's talk a little Nebraska, and we'll get into a few other things here. I mean, Matt Rule's first season, what's like the one big thing we should be looking for when it comes to Nebraska football this year?
Well, the big thing Husker fans are looking for is a bowl game, which we haven't been to in way too long. But beyond that, Matt Rule wants to be a lot more disciplined. He wants to be a lot more physical. He wants to be a lot more blue collar. They're going to bring him back. The fullback is kind of a big thing to Husker fans. Okay. And even something as simple when Marcus Satterfield was first hired, the offensive coordinator, we're going to huddle, you know, something as simple as that kind of made waves and made news, you know. So it's getting kind of back to what Nebraska used to be known for just a little bit. Now, what has stuck out to me so far with Coach Rule, they're going to be disciplined, and he's going to demand discipline, and he's setting that culture. We have a tight ends coach who is no longer here. We have Miles Farmer, who just entered the transfer portal. He was suspended to start fall camp. He started 16 games, second on the team in tackles last year. He's now in the transfer portal because of that suspension, and Isaac Gifford was stepping up and playing well. And then you look at Anthony Grant going into spring ball. He was the number one JUCO player in the country 2 years ago, our best running back a year ago, at least statistically, amount of carries wise, and he's suspended to start spring ball. So Matt Rule's trying to set the tone for discipline and accountability.
Adam, you played in the NFL and you played college, obviously. It didn't work out for Matt Rule at Carolina. Why is it going to be different in college? Is it a different skill set to be a head coach at both levels?
I don't really equate college success to NFL success or NFL lack of success to whether you're going to be successful as a college coach. You look at what Rule did at Temple. You look at what he did at Baylor. Those were two programs that were on hard times, and he built them right up. Now, you look at two of the greatest college football coaches of all time from a win-loss championships perspective, Nick Saban. All right. He goes to Miami, doesn't go so great. I played with some guys in St. Louis who have some harsh things to say about Nick Saban because they were with him in Miami. But I'm pretty sure he's done all right as a college coach. You look at Urban Meyer. Didn't go gloriously at Jacksonville, to put it mildly, but he's a pretty darn good college football coach. So they're two different worlds. It's two different types of players. You've got, of course, they're still amateurs, I guess, technically, but it's starting to change. But what has been up to this point is college players are technically amateurs versus grown men in the NFL. And you can't exactly take the same exact approach when you're coaching college players and what is supposed to be amateurs versus grown men with families, and this is how they put food on their table.
Adam Carricker's our guest now. So where this is going, though, as we started with like realignment and college football is just getting bigger, kind of moving more towards like an NFLification, if you will, because if you have the Big Ten and the SEC keep growing, it kind of starts to look like the NFC versus the AFC or something like that. We already have a 12-team college football playoff that's going to start next year. Is that necessarily a good thing for the student athlete themselves? Maybe I'll use student athlete in air quotes. Like you just mentioned, they're kind of supposed to be amateurs. We're getting further and further away from that, where the college football players are looking more and more like pros. We all love that they're getting paid. I'm not talking about that. But is that good for the players themselves that they're going to be treated more like professionals?
I think there's pluses and minuses. I think the fact that universities were making millions of dollars off these athletes, and a scholarship absolutely has value, but it didn't equate directly to the amount of money that was being made off them. Obviously, that has changed, so that's a plus. Minuses are you've got very young individuals who are going to have more money at their fingertips, things at their fingertips that they may or may not be ready for. And during my time in the NFL, I saw several individuals who were 22, 23 years old who had a hard time dealing with a lot of the things that I don't want to say fall into their lap, but they earned the right, but came into their lap once they entered the NFL. A lot of people didn't know how to handle them. Now you're doing that with even younger individuals, okay? So there's pluses, there's minuses. I think there should be an education course or something available to help educate these 17, 18, 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds as far as how do you handle this and what is the best way to go about being disciplined and taking care of this. So for me, there's pluses and minuses. As an overall whole, I'm not uber excited about where the sport is heading. I understand why. The almighty dollar, speaks the loudest. I get all that. College football is not going anywhere, that's for sure. So there is pluses and minuses, though.
Wait, what are you not looking forward to? What do you think is going to happen that could be negative the way it's going?
I'm going to miss the rivalries. There's several things. I'm going to miss the rivalries. You look at the Civil War is not going to exist anymore. Oregon State. You got the Apple Cup, Washington State. The backyard brawl's been gone for a while, which is Pitt and West Virginia. Nebraska, Oklahoma hardly ever play anymore. So you start with the rivalries, okay? And then when you start to think about beyond football, you think about baseball, softball, basketball, all these sports that travel way more than maybe just 6, 7, 8 times a year. That travel from L.A. to Piscataway, okay, West Coast to East Coast, Piscataway, New Jersey. I mean, you're doing this multiple times. Now, there's things you can do to try to alleviate this. You can do pods. So maybe Washington, Oregon, USC, UCLA, Nebraska are kind of in a similar pod. And if you're Michigan and you're playing Oregon, maybe you kind of lump that into a Washington trip all at the same time. There's things you can do to alleviate it, but I think it's going to create a lot of hardships and challenges for players in sports that travel way more than football does.
Adam, last one for me, and we're talking to Adam Carricker, host of the Big Ten Show podcast on the Believe Networks. And I think a lot of people on the outside, you look at the Big Ten, and it looks like Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State, and it's top heavy. Who do you think could crash the party there, if anyone, and who do you think is the best team in the conference?
Well, until somebody does something about it, I'm going to say Michigan. Okay, Ohio State's always going to have the talent. When you look at pure talent, they may be the most talented team in the conference, but I'm going to go with Michigan until Ohio State can continuously hit them in the mouth for 4 full quarters, because they have not done that 2 years in a row. Now, you look at Ohio State, okay, they've actually got new bodies up front, new quarterback. They got a lot of new this year. They got talent, but a lot of new. Who's going to pan out? Who's not? How are they going to gel? I actually like Penn State a little bit more than I do Ohio State. They got a lot of players coming back. They got a loaded backfield. Their schedule is very friendly, about the easiest schedule in the Big Ten Conference, and that's one thing they've really got going for them. I kind of like Minnesota. I think as good as Tanner Morgan was for years there at Minnesota, they've got an upgrade this year. They've got an explosive running back. The biggest thing, you could argue that they maybe have a better team than they've had, but the biggest thing they have going against them is either them or Purdue, have the toughest schedule in the Big Ten. So I'm curious how they're going to navigate that.
Adam, do you think Ryan Day would be in trouble at Ohio State if he lost again to Michigan?
Yes, I do. I mean, let's be honest. That's the big one right there. And if you lose 3 years in a row, that's going to be hard. And really, that Georgia game did a lot for him. It really, and I know they didn't win, but I don't want to say it saved his job, but it cooled his seat a lot because it was starting to get a little bit warm for sure.
Adam Carricker, host of the Big Ten Show podcast on Believe Networks. Adam, it's great to talk with you. Thanks so much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks for having me. You too.
Who knows who could be in what conference come tomorrow? So.
Oh, yeah. You know who's picking up momentum in all the preseason surprise? People like Minnesota. Now, of course, to me, Minnesota is a special team this year because Georgia is going for the first three-peat since the 1930s Minnesota Gophers.
Your Minnesota Gophers.
So what if Minnesota knocked off Georgia in the Final Four? Let's play it out. Why not?
I would. I think hell would freeze over if that actually happened.
That'd be a good matchup. But he was right. Minnesota's making a lot of, hey, watch out for this team. Because you had a great point. There's only like 3 really good teams in the Big Ten, where the SEC and the Pac-12 are both kind of deep this year.
Yeah.
And the ACC a little bit too.
Especially with, the Pac-12, it's going to be the final year of the conference. Yeah. You have a lot of really good quarterbacks. The one thing about Minnesota, listen, I know he's just a different kind of guy, but PJ Fleck is not, everyone's cup of tea, right?
I don't know. I mean, yeah, but he's a good football coach.
I understand that.
He's a good college football coach.
Right. I understand
Urban Meyer's not everyone's cup of tea, and that dude won a lot of games.
Yeah, but, there were some things that came out a couple weeks ago about whether he was, it was a little too much and, a little too harsh and a little too, just a little bit odd, quite frankly, some of the things that came out.
Fleck Bucks?
Yeah, the Fleck Bucks.
But all those things you described as common ingredients among maniac winning coaches in college football.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Urban Meyer. Have you ever met Urban Meyer? He's an oddball.
Definitely. I mean, it's a little strange, but I think it's like it teetered a little bit on, like, if by some players and former players thought it definitely had crossed a line.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's what I'm looking for in my preseason bets. The further coach crosses the line, the more over I'm going. Come on, it's college football. This is the sport that Bear Bryant once ruled. This is all about crossing lines. You can't downgrade their success on the field just because he's an inhuman.
Well, I mean, Bear Bryant was a long time ago.
Yeah, but that style, I mean, listen, college football coach, the harsh way sometimes has success.
Yeah, this one, I don't know. He's gotten support, obviously, from the administration, and he's not going anywhere. But there were a couple things that, former players and people who, again, were looking at it saying it felt a little like a cult. That was the word.
Yeah. Again, over. Wait, are we arguing about whether they're ethically balanced or going to win football games? Because the two are exact opposites in college football.
I don't know. Okay, this show is sponsored in part by BetterHelp. Sometimes in life we're faced with tough choices and the path forward. Perloff, it isn't always clear. Whether you're dealing with decisions around your career, relationships, or anything else, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate life, so you can move forward with confidence and excitement. Now, trusting yourself to make decisions that align with your values is like anything. The more you practice it, the easier it gets. Therapy can give you the tools to find more balance in your life so you can keep supporting others without leaving yourself behind.
You know, we've all been through some unpredictable times over the past few years, and it's not a sign of weakness to ask for help. If you think of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/MNP. That's MANDP, MNP, today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/MNP.
You're in a 4-minute break. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Forty-five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. This portion of the show is brought to you by Wesley Financial. Stuck in a timeshare and want out? Contact Wesley Financial Group now and get a free timeshare exit information kit at wesleyfinancialgroup.com. So, obviously, there's a lot going on around the NFL. I'm a big believer in training camp stats. I want to know your completion percentage, your touchdown to interception differential.
And you use this information to do what?
I basically fantasy picks. No, Dak Prescott, I don't know if you saw, threw 2 picks to Trayvon Diggs today that has lit the internet on fire.
Oh, boy. Did Diggs talk trash to him after?
Oh, Diggs threw the ball into the crowd like 100 yards. It's totally insane.
Yeah.
I am so team Dak over Diggs. Like, why Diggs is trying to show up as quarterback, I have no idea. I understand he's a cornerback, and they generally do not like quarterbacks.
Yeah.
But Diggs famously was caught cursing out Dak on camera, and now he's picking him off and throwing the football into the crowd. All right, dude, we get it. These are training camp interceptions, Maggie. They mean nothing. Aaron Rodgers threw a couple yesterday. They mean nothing.
I know.
Why do people take this seriously? I take every detail seriously. I don't care about training camp stats.
Well, I mean, if you are a corner, this is your job to celebrate every time. It doesn't matter if it's training camp. It doesn't matter if it's the NFC Championship
your own
game.
Team? Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe it's trying to, toughen Dak up a little bit. Like, hey, you said we were going to cut down on the interceptions. Well, every time you throw one, I'm going to celebrate like we just won the Super Bowl.
I don't know about that strategy because I feel like your quarterback's confidence is a lot more important than your ability to pick him off.
This is not even close to the most pressing issue going on with the Cowboys. Let's get to the Cowboys quickie. Issue with the Dallas Cowboys is not Dak Prescott's interceptions. It is not Mike McCarthy now calling plays and how's it going to go. It's not Jerry Jones talking into microphones all the time. Hell, it's not even Zach Martin, the all-pro guard, holding out to the tune of $600,000 and counting every time he misses a training camp practice. Perloff, the biggest issue facing the Dallas Cowboys is they still don't have an accomplished, solid, dependable kicker. Yeah, I said it. Tristan Vizcaino was cut the other day. So now Brandon Aubrey is now the guy. And according to Jerry, they feel good about it. No shot.
Why? What's wrong with this guy?
He hasn't been good in training camp.
Oh.
Do you understand?
Okay.
The Dallas Cowboys set an NFL record last year for missed PATs when Brett Maher completely got the yips.
Yeah.
And that was in the Tampa game that they won, thank goodness. So that guy would be like, have had to move, to Beijing to get away from Cowboys fans who probably wanted to harass him. Don't forget, against San Francisco, he would have missed another PAT, but it got blocked. I mean, it was sailing way, way, way off, and it luckily for him got blocked, so it wasn't another PAT. This kicking situation, real Cowboys fans know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You got comfortable there with Dan Bailey all those years, and now you really have an issue here. That's your Cowboys quickie for today.
Can't they just sign a veteran?
Robbie Gould's out there.
Yeah, Robbie Gould's awesome.
Okay, but I'm looking at Jerry saying they feel good.
Well,
they're feeling good about the kicker.
Okay, and what's this guy's name again?
His name is Brandon Aubrey.
That's a good kicker name. You have to give him that. Now, and does he have any experience whatsoever in the National Football League?
That's going to be a negative. He has no NFL experience. He does have some USFL experience. He was all USFL. He converted 14 of his 15 kicks for the Birmingham Stallions before joining the Cowboys.
So just pick up a veteran guy. I don't know what Jerry's talking about. Is it that hard? It's a kicker.
I'm telling you, this is going to be an issue if they don't resolve it. You can't have a team with this high expectations. You are not paying your right guard, who's all pro. You got a million things going on. You got Mike McCarthy. I mean, if he doesn't, I don't know, his future's in doubt. You're going to leave this up to a potential kicking fiasco? That would just be.
I don't know. I approach it like my fantasy team. I just pick up a different veteran kicker every year for my fantasy football team. I don't know. It doesn't feel like That does not strike me as a bigger issue than, let's say, Zach Martin.
Zach Martin's another big issue.
Yeah,
but
I know.
think ultimately, in some ways, a guy like that who's such a veteran I don't think he really needs training camp. I know it's a kind of a new offense, I guess, in this, what are they calling it? Like the Texas Coast offense, like some kind of version of the West Coast offense. But I think Zach Martin is going to pick it up. I'm not worried about that. In fact, I'd rather him not get hurt in training camp or risk it at all. I'm not even as worried about that. But the kicking situation, I'm telling you, you got to button this up.
Well, they got rid of Tristan Vizcaino, and you know how I feel about Tristan Vizcaino.
Yeah.
He was a problem waiting to happen.
Yeah.
And I don't know, does this feel like a rags to riches story? Former USFL kicker Brandon Aubrey? Feels right to me, Maggie.
Yeah, this one feels right.
Yeah, I mean, listen, where do kickers come from anyway? They all got to come from somewhere. You can't draft one in the first round and expect it to work. I mean, who's the best kicker now, other than Justin Tucker?
Yeah, it's Justin Tucker.
Yeah, do all the great teams have great kickers?
I think you want to feel good about your kicker. I mean, how many games has Tucker won for the Ravens? Now, they're not a very high-scoring offense. They're more of a defensive team.
But Justin Tucker's the best kicker in the history of the league, so let's take him. He's an incredible
Bengals have a great kicker.
How about the Bengals? The Bengals, that guy kicked them to the Super Bowl.
McPherson?
Yeah, he was pretty good.
Thank you, EJ.
By the way, so the Cowboy, I was thinking, is Greg the Leg out there somewhere? He is now on the Jets, apparently.
Yeah.
But he was the Cowboys guy for a little while there.
I love that, EJ, you're wearing your Jet shirt. Is this for Hard Knocks tonight?
Oh, yeah, I can't wait. Cannot wait. And it's funny because I actually forgot I had this shirt, and I saw it, and it was a little wrinkly. I was like, I don't care. I'm throwing it on.
Yeah, a lot of Jets fans in the office is very excited about tonight to watch a television show. You guys realize it sounds a little crazy.
And it's been 11 years without playoff football. So, I mean, this is all we got at this point, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Great. Back to the Cowboys for 1 second.
Sure.
Robbie Gould's still good. I mean, I know, listen, he's 40 years old. And he's just really good at short kicks. That's all you need. You don't need that 55-yarder.
Listen, the dude, Brett Maher, last year was missing PATs.
Yeah, but he has a cannon for long distance, so maybe that's why they were keeping him. But you're right. So I think you bring in Robbie Gould, get your PATs, just be conservative. I think you nailed on the head. You just want to cut down on the fires in Cowboys camp. Just make things as simple as possible for Dak Prescott, for the special teams. I think that the less controversy you have, the better. So you're right. I think you bring in this way. I would always do this. Bring in Robbie Gould for the short stuff. Keep this Brandon Aubrey guy. Because listen, Brandon Aubrey from long distance is unstoppable.
Yeah.
He's a Steph Curry of kickers.
Yeah, sure.
So have two kickers if you have
He's hitting them from the logo. Sure.
But don't they have
So you're going to carry two kickers?
They have John Fossil, who was the special teams coaching star from the Rams. So he's supposed to be such a good special teams coach. Can he figure this out? He's one of the
he was with them last year when Maher kept missing the PATs.
Yeah.
So,
but
happened on his watch.
He had a couple trick plays that were pretty cool, though. That's
okay, cool.
Total Bones Fossil for you.
Well, the other part, that is so Bones. But the other part, too, is, listen, the last time we saw Mike McCarthy calling plays, he was getting, pretty conservative. Too conservative, and that became a criticism. So is he going to now be Mr. Go For It on fourth down? I mean, I imagine he's going to want to have a really solid kicker. I know we're talking about the Cowboys kicker, and people are like, Maggie, in your show, you guys are insane. I'm telling you, this will be a problem if they don't address it. You cannot go into a season if you have real Super Bowl aspirations with an inexperienced and unknown kicker. You cannot do it.
When you're looking at Super Bowl teams, do you ever once consider the kicker?
All the time.
God,
it's like looking at the weather. You got to look at what's going on with these teams, and it'd be like picking a game without looking at the forecast.
Listen, does the Eagles kicker have that? The Super Bowl was 38-35. There was one field goal the entire game.
Yeah, I know. And I bet the over on how many field goals were going to be in the game. And I lost that bet. But you never know. You never know.
In the AFC, the quarterbacks are so good, they're all going to score touchdowns every drive anyway. Field goals ain't going to win you anything in the AFC this year.
Well, this is the NFC. And the Cowboys are in a different animal here.
So who is the Niners kicker? Because if it's not Robbie Gould.
I don't know who they brought in.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, it's going to matter. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227.
Oh.
Yeah. What do you got?
They have third-round kicker Jake Moody and Zane
the dude from Michigan.
And Zane Gonzalez.
See, that's a team that values kicker. It's funny that their kicker would have been selected higher than their quarterback if Brock Purdy is starting, but so it goes.
Yeah, I think this guy Zane Gonzalez won the job.
Oh, did he? Okay.
Oh, Zane Gonzalez, who is a Cleveland Brown. I disagree with you on this. I know I'm going to end up eating my words in Week 9 when the Cowboys miss a game-winning field goal. I put this lower on my list of Cowboys worries.
Do you guys want to hear what John Lynch said when they wasted that second round or day 2 pick on Moody?
Yeah, what'd he say?
He said, I think when you put this much work into making your roster as competitive as we have, you're going to be in a lot of close games and kickers matter.
Thank you. John Lynch gets it, but apparently Moody didn't win the job.
Well, I'm not sure. They might still be battling that one out.
Okay.
Hope for John Lynch to say he does win, because that's a day 2 pick that they wasted on Moody.
So Zane Gonzalez and Jake Moody are going battling head-to-head.
Well,
so maybe
whoever
Moody will
loses
win.
that job, maybe Jerry might want to give him a call.
Yeah, I mean, a kicker. Wait, do you guys agree with Maggie that this is a reason to lose sleep if you're a Cowboys fan? I feel like kickers shake free and you get one right before the season.
I feel like it's one of those things that you don't think about until you miss a big kick and you're like, oh, wow.
Right, but I also think that except for Justin Tucker, they're all hot and cold. Like, it depends. Like, you bring in a random veteran. Like, Robbie Gould was supposed to be washed. Then he became the most accurate kicker late in his career. I think if they just have confidence.
That they're like relief pitchers. They just go up and down. I don't think so. I think that if you have like a solid, dependable kicker, it changes everything. Like, it changes how coaches can coach. It changes the kind of play calls. I know that, in this day and age in football, sometimes you can't just be trading field goals for touchdowns. I understand that. But at the same time, I think kicker, like, again, and EJ brought it up, you saw it with McPherson with the Bengals. I mean,
yeah,
what was it, 3 kicks in the playoffs that basically got him there?
Right, but didn't he struggle a little last year?
Yeah, he had a game, I forgot what game last year, where both teams missed a bunch of field goals.
Yeah, I felt like he lost his mojo. And Mason Crosby's the ultimate, a good kicker who kind of came up small, gigantic moments.
Well, and there was like a point there where the entire Green Bay Packers special teams was a massive mess, which is why they had to bring in Rich Bisaccia. Remember that? Didn't get much better. A little bit. 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Okay, so we've got a lot more to do. Your phone call's always welcome at 855-212-4CBS. Coming up, the quarterback controversy that nobody saw coming. We get to that after this CBS Sports Update. Here's Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Well, today comes another chapter in the ongoing drama between Jonathan Taylor and the Colts, with a disappointed running back rehabbing his ankle away from the team. Taylor has been involved in a contract dispute over an extension, and his absence is reportedly expected to last a couple of days. Bills running back Nyheim Hines underwent reconstructive knee surgery today after a freak accident in a jet ski incident in which he was hit while sitting on the jet ski. He is out for the season. Rays ace and Cy Young Award candidate Shane McClanahan will likely not pitch again this season due to a forearm injury. The Tampa Bay lefty had won 11 of his first 12 decisions. However, his last victory came back on June 16th. The Orioles are the best team in baseball, and their 4-game winning streak will be put to the test tonight when they host the defending champion Astros, who will try to keep pace with the Rangers in the AL West. Houston is 2.5 games back and has won 5 of 7. Framber Valdez will take the mound for the first time since his no-hitter, his last start. And rookie Grayson Rodriguez starts for Baltimore, while the first-place Rangers go for their 8th in a row in Oakland, with Max Scherzer making his second start since being acquired. Also right now, Game 1 of 2 between the Phillies and Nationals. Washington out in front 1-0, bottom 2. I'm Rich Ackerman.
You're in a 5-minute break. Four minutes, 30 seconds remaining. 4 minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining. One minute remaining. Five seconds remaining. Seconds remaining. Fifteen seconds. Break ends in 5 seconds.
The Defensive Player of the Week is sponsored by the Navy Federal Credit Union, who proudly serves the Armed Forces, DoD, veterans, and their families. Their members are the mission. Learn more at NavyFederal.org. All right, Navy Federal Defensive Player of the Week. Every day of the week, Maggie, I watch SportsCenter's top 10 plays.
Yeah, but that's... Sorry, go ahead.
It's all Little League this week. It's all some kid from somewhere who barely makes a diving catch. So I don't know if that's going to be it. I just don't know if there was anything noteworthy enough in baseball.
Well, also, I mean, that's when Stu was picking the Defensive Player of the Week. This week it's Samter picking the Defensive Player. We have no idea where he's coming up with these.
Wild card.
I know. It's got to be soccer.
What sports are going on right now? We got women's soccer.
It's like MLS, Cup.
Yeah, but MLS, all anyone cares about is Messi scoring goals. There's no defense there. That is very evident.
Yeah.
So
come on, MLS, put up a fight.
Can you give us a sport, Mike?
No. Because there's like 3 options. So you basically, if I give you a sport, then that kind of just cuts it down.
No, if you give us baseball, that's hundreds of people.
If you do, you're not going to troll and do like Sweden's keeper, are you?
But if you do, I mean, that's a news to us.
This week's Defensive Player of the Week is sadly Sweden star goalie Zachira Musovic, who made 11 saves, including multiple draw-dropping stops in a shutout of our wonderful U.S. women's national team that sent the home team home, and Sweden eventually won in penalty kicks.
Jaw-dropping. You mean her jaw dropped when she watched Megan Rapinoe kick the ball over the
In
goal?
the PK, she didn't have to make any saves, but during the match, she made some incredible stops to shut them out.
Did she really? Because I read continually that we never got the right shots on goal.
We had 11 shots on goal to their one.
Yeah, but they weren't all good, were
There
they?
were a bunch of good enough ones that should have been goals that were not.
Well, there you go. That's a good choice then.
Zachira Musovic.
Still feeling the burn on that one. 855-212-4CBS. Mark is in Ohio. He's got a thought on the AFC North. What's going on, Mark? How are you?
I'm pretty good. I got a take that I think most people wouldn't expect, and I think it would be history in the making this year. I think every team in that division is going to make the playoffs.
Oh, interesting. Mark, thank you for the call. It's going to be one of the most competitive divisions, and I think for that reason, that will not come true because I think they're going to beat up on each other quite a bit, and I don't know if anyone's record is going to stand out so much that beyond the division winner, if we're going to have slam dunk playoff teams.
So I did this last year. There was some bet on DraftKings about all 4 AFC West teams making the playoffs. It was about 650 to 1 or something. Really good odds.
Yeah.
The math, I read this, they all have to be 3-3 in the division. Every single one of them has to be 500. Otherwise, it can't happen. The problem is the rest of the AFC is so loaded, there's no way they can do it. Because, I mean, you have so many playoff teams in the other divisions, it's impossible this year.
Yeah, I think so also. I think it's going to be pretty, can't say spread out, but I think the AFC South is going to get 1 team in, obviously. I think it's going to be Jacksonville. That's not a hot take at all. I think the AFC East is going to get 2.
Or 3.
The AFC North is going to get 2. So that puts me at 5. And then the AFC West will probably get 2. That gets me to 7.
Well, yeah. But you could easily see 3 in either the North or the East. There's plenty of playoff caliber teams. If the Dolphins
I think you're going to see teams going home disappointed with good records. I think this is one of those years where 10-7 is just not going to get you in.
There's also a possibility that there's so much beating up going on in those divisions that 2 AFC South teams get to 10 wins and sneak in. What if the Jags are legit good? They win 11 games. What if the Titans, they play the Texans twice. They play the Colts twice. They could cobble together a bunch of wins. What if they sneak in at 10-7 or something like that?
Well, the problem is I don't think the Titans are going to be very good. So,
well, yeah, but against the Texans, all you have to do is be relatively competent.
I get that. I just
relative competence. It's our rally cry for the 2023 Titans.
I know the DeAndre Hopkins signing kind of threw me off a little bit, but I'm going to maintain. I think this is a sneaky tank team. I think
I don't think so.
That move signaled that they think they're going for it. But I think as the season goes on, and I think Vrabel's a good coach, but I think he's safe. You've got to do something about the quarterback situation. I don't think they are in love with Will Levis. I don't think they're in love with
Malik
Willis. And Ryan Tannehill's at the end. So why not this year try to get one of these quarterbacks coming out of college?
Yeah, definitely get so. But you're not getting number 1 because the depth of losing you have to do in that division. You have to creatively lose. If Ryan Tannehill's healthy, he wins 65% of his games. He's a totally normal, competent quarterback. And they have a good defense, and they have Derrick Henry.
I think Derrick Henry could be traded at the deadline if things aren't going well. The DeAndre Hopkins thing is the only thing that doesn't make sense about what they did because it doesn't make sense why they would sign him. To me,
well, they could have moved on from Tannehill this year, and they chose not to. Actually, I don't know if contractually they could have, but they got a lot of older guys. They're not this rebuilding. They're not the Cardinals who just have really nobody. Again, AFC South, weird things could happen there because it's not a very good division.
And reminder that teams in the AFC East have to play both the NFC East, toughest division in the NFC, and the AFC West, probably the second toughest division in the AFC. So if you're talking about getting multiple teams in the AFC East, it might be a lot more trickier than we think.
Yeah, I think it's going to be dogfight. I mean, somebody's going to be disappointing in the AFC East. It's going to happen. And I'm just real fingers crossed that it's not the team I'm rooting for, which is the Buffalo Bills. Everything is on the table when it comes to the AFC East.
Well, I do think I'm noticing there is a consensus the way camp is going. I think there's one team everybody is way lower on. Like, there's nothing going on in New England that is leading anyone to any optimism.
No, and in fact, like the Belichick, hot seat, it's...
Is it a hot... Yeah, do you see, are we there? Are we there?
To me, no. I think all of this, and I know that you have the Tom Currans of the world and people who are a lot closer to the situation than I am. I'm not trying to say that their reporting is wrong or inaccurate, but I just don't see how they're going to move on from Belichick this year. I don't see that. I do not think he's coaching for his job this year. I really don't. And I know that he and Robert Kraft don't have this like excellent relationship.
Yeah.
But they chose Belichick over Brady. And I think there's a lot to that. And I think there is so much currency that Belichick still has with that organization that I don't think they move on after this year.
I think you're probably right. But if they're 5-12, which I don't think is going to happen, because Belichick will coach them up to something, then I think it's a different calculus. I really do. The line that came out last week that everyone has been quoting is from Mike Giardi, formerly of the NFL Network.
Yeah.
He was asked in an interview to describe the receiving core. He said 3 words: stink, stank, stunk.
Oh, geez.
It is. That's the thing. You keep looking at that unit, and Belichick is famously bad at drafting wide receivers. Devontae Parker, he was basically off the trash heap. Kendrick Bourne has not done well. Everyone loves Juju, but he's a possession receiver. They just don't have. It doesn't feel like they have the weapons to compete in this crazy division right now.
Well, I think they're going to probably run the ball quite a bit, and I think that Belichick might be trying to do the zag where everybody's going to zig, where everyone is, going to be trying to do all these explosive downfield offenses, and I think that Belichick is going to be like, no, we're going to grind this thing to a halt.
Yeah.
And we are going to make this the most painful football game that anyone has ever played. Their defense was still good. And now you're not going to all of a sudden ask Mac Jones to become Patrick Mahomes. They understand who they have.
I guess so. I mean, listen, their defense is good, but there's only really 1 or 2 players that anyone who's not in New England can name. They have basically they're Matthew Judon and 10 guys that, you're like, I think I might know that guy. They really have not, their defense has been solid, but it's not like the old days, Maggie. There's not all those people who beat you up for all those years.
Let's listen to Rob Gronkowski, can we? So Gronk was on the Dan and Ninko show. Rob Ninkovich show. Who's the Dan of the Dan and Ninko show? We'll figure that out. Dan the man. The Dan and Ninko show. Here's what Gronk had to say. He was surprised when Matthew Judon was upset with his contract, Perloff, and that Belichick basically relinquished and gave him a new deal.
Matthew Judon holding out right now, like at training camp and not participating in drills, is one of the weirdest things I've ever heard.
That's so weird that Bill would let that happen.
Yeah, and Bill letting that happen.
No, what do you think?
Like,
Bill
that is weird. Yeah, he always says it's either you're all in or you're all out. That's why it's weird. Like, is he losing control or something? I don't know.
I don't know if it's losing control. I can see why everyone would think that's weird, though, right, for Belichick. But I don't think he's losing control. I think he's doing this maybe to try to keep some control. Matthew Judon is like one of their most important players.
He's their only player. He's like Chris Jones.
You've got to keep him happy. And you know what? Forest through the trees here. Make him happy so you don't have like some kind of contract situation with one of your best players.
Yeah. I mean, when you're watching the Patriots, the only person you notice on defense is wearing red sleeves, and it's Matthew Judon. I think he's getting old. And I don't mean that as an insult. I think he's softened his ways. I really do. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I don't think you have the hardcore cut lawyer Malloy Bill Belichick anymore. I just think, you get old, you get a little nicer. The kind of same things happen to Nick Saban probably, although he's trying to be irascible. I just don't think Bill Belichick is like that anymore. Is that bad?
It's funny. When I think of getting older, though, I don't generally think of people getting nicer. Like when we talk about society, I feel like old people, you become kind of crotchety.
Yeah, but
because
I feel
you kind of seen it all, and like you don't have patience for anyone anymore, and just like, I'm annoyed by the world.
But you don't want to play hardball when you're older. You just be like, you know what? I don't want this.
Just pay him.
I don't want this aggravation. Yeah,
just pay him. It was probably Robert Kraft who was like, I'm not doing this.
Yeah, Belichick's like,
pay him.
Belichick's, I'm on the back nine. Just, I don't need this right now. Just pay the dude. Whatever.
I don't think it's Belichick.
He's like, I got enough problems with Mac Jones. Did you see the other day? He was actually, it might have been today. He was asked, so is Mac Jones starting on Thursday? He's like, I don't know yet. What do you mean you don't know who's starting for quarterback in 2 days for your team?
Belichick's not going to give away that kind of intel.
So at least he's sticking to his old ways with the media, but maybe he's softening up. So you say he's not on the hot seat. I will say 5 wins or less, he's out. But I don't think he's going to have 5 wins. I think they're going to be competitive. But AFC East, you got to pick a loser there, and it's hard. I know you're worried about your Bills, but there's a lot of talent in Miami, New York, and Buffalo.
Yeah, I think I'm a little less worried about them than everyone else is. They went through a lot last year. They went through a lot last year off the field. Disappointing season by their standards to lose like that against the Bengals. I mean, yeah, you worry, I guess, a bit about Stephon Diggs and what went on in training camp, but for the most part, seems like they're past it. I don't think they could possibly have a more stressful season than they did last year. I think this year should be fine.
Well, Mike Florio said a couple of days ago that apparently Bill Belichick would, quote, can't wait to be able to tell Mac to sit on the bench. Like, that's one thing he's been waiting for.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
To try to go win it with Zappy?
Yeah, that it would do him a favor if he didn't have Mac kind of as an anchor, so to speak.
These two guys got so bad between the two of them. Mac
One thing,
Jones
by the way,
yes.
about Buffalo, do you guys agree? I don't sense people are a little bit worried about them, but it's the exact opposite of last year. Everyone had them, including me, as their Super Bowl pick. No one has them as their Super Bowl pick. Everyone's like, yeah, they're still pretty good, but they're not. They clearly can't get over that hump. So does that make you feel better?
I think to be a tiny bit under the radar, if that's possible, I think is really good. I think a lot of people believe the window is closed.
Yeah.
And this is what happens when, A, you pay your quarterback and everyone becomes really expensive.
True.
And B, you brought back, like, Jordan Poyer kind of felt like, to bring back like a safety who's like 33, kind of feels like, well, you couldn't get a better upgrade there, something like that. And I love Poyer, but Oregon guy. But
Safety's a mental game.
From Oregon, by the way.
So, yeah, the Bills have dropped down in Super Bowl odds.
Yeah, I get it.
They were number 1. Now they're number 3.
Yeah, I mean, they're still right there.
I know. I'm just saying. I was being sarcastic.
Yeah, right.
They're still top
cliff
3.
That they're
still top 3.
off.
Vegas just can't quit your Buffalo Bills, can they?
No, and I understand why, but it's going to be a challenge for them for sure.
Yeah,
the Jets are going to be good. Miami's going to be good. They're going to, I bet, split with both.
The thing is, we're entering prediction season, really hardcore. It's just everybody in this industry is going to get all tied up by the AFC because there are 8 teams that are good enough to win a Super Bowl. I mean, that's not even hyperbole. The Dolphins definitely are good enough to be really, really good. The Jets, the Bills, the Bengals, the Ravens, the Steelers. I mean, the Chargers, the Chiefs. These are all legitimate teams. The hardest part this year is going to be to pick the losers, the teams that won't make the playoffs.
Should we attempt it? 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227.
I don't want to. I don't want to.
Oh, come on, live a little.
You realize that you're going to predict the team's not going to make the playoffs. I'm not saying who you're going to, and they're going to end up being in the Super Bowl. That's how good the AFC is right now.
The Raiders?
Wow, no, that's a bridge too far.
You're welcome to weigh in, of course. You're welcome to watch the show. YouTube.com/CBS Sports Radio. So, yes, much. Are we going to pick the losers?
The Raiders' odds are not good. You get them at 80-1 to win the Super Bowl right now.
Right where I like them. What are the odds to get number 1 overall pick? Also
8-1.
Also 8-1.
Which is better for the organization long term?
I think we know the answer to that. Coming up, the latest on Aaron Rodgers. We've got it for you. Don't move. Maggie, Perloff, CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Four minutes remaining. Three minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Three minutes remaining. Two minutes, 30 seconds remaining. Two minutes remaining. One minute, 30 seconds remaining.
Three? No read, right? I'm assuming. Okay. This is Andrew Perloff with the CBS Sports Minute. This is Andrew Perloff with an Odyssey Sports Minute. Hard Knocks makes its debut tonight on HBO. It's a program that has lost some luster because we have so much access to behind-the-scenes footage every day. It's hard to stand out. So what did the league do? It turned to the one man who can save Hard Knocks just like he's going to save the New York Jets. Yep, Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers basically said he didn't want to do it, but once the cameras start rolling, Rodgers can't help himself. He's going to be entertaining. And I, for one, can't wait to tune in. I'm Andrew Perloff. Oh.
Break ends in 5 seconds.
Taking less is going to happen within 2 weeks. We'll know who's right about this. I think Joe Burrow's going to take
Joe
a pay
Bet?
cut. Yeah,
Driving to Cincinnati?
I don't want to drive to Cincinnati on this one. I think we need something a little higher stakes than that.
What a bad bandwagon fan you are. Don't even want to drive to Cincinnati to see your beloved Reds.
All the driving bets are always one way because you don't like driving long. You don't even like driving an hour and a half somewhere.
I don't even like commuting into the office. But I do it for you guys.
Yeah, I'm like,
I don't want to be home.
You're like, Perloff, why don't you drive to El Paso? And I'm like, you just complained because you had to go from North Jersey to another part of North Jersey.
I do not like to be in the car.
They are Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
Stand by that take. Hey, welcome to the show. Maggie Gray, Andrew Perloff on CBS Sports Radio. All right, so we're doing teams that we believe will not make the playoffs in the NFL. This is not what we were planning to do. We're now going totally on the fly. We're completely off script here. We've been talking about the AFC and which teams are going to be great and how top-heavy it is, and everyone loves the AFC, but there are going to be teams who are going to be disappointed by not making the playoffs, and today's the day, Perloff, when we plant our flag and say who is not going to make the playoffs. Now,
I think I have parameters for this.
yeah, I was going to say, we need to, I joked around. I said, what about the Raiders? The Raiders aren't expected to make the playoffs. Right. That's not a take.
Right. I think it has to be teams that are favored by Vegas, have minus money to make the playoffs. And you kind of know who those are instinctively. It's all the teams we mentioned in the last segment. Most of the AFC East, most of the AFC North, the Jaguars.
Yep.
And I think there's only two teams. Well, there's only really two teams in the AFC West, the Chiefs and the Chargers.
Yep.
So you have those choices. And how many teams do we have to have fall out?
Why don't we pick three?
I mean, you can't do three teams with minus money.
I know. The minus money, I think, might be a little hard.
It's not. Well, I don't know.
Why don't we do two then? You want to do two?
Well, I think we're going to lower it. Let's do two.
Okay.
Okay. I have one off the top of my head.
Go ahead.
I think the Chargers, who are minus money, are in grave danger of missing the playoffs this year.
Talk it out.
They get injured more than any team in the league over the last several years. Something always seems to happen. And I have major questions about the coach. So I'm just telling you, they are a twisted ankle from Joey Bosa away from being 9 wins and being the one team that takes a step back. Now, here's the thing. Herbert got his money. Long term, they're probably fine. They're really testing Brandon Staley right now. Is he the guy who's going to be here with Herbert for all that time? And I don't know. I'm a little nervous about the Chargers. That's my first one to drop out.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think Staley is 100% on the hot seat. Kellen Moore is now in. We'll see how the offense goes because Joe Lombardi had to get him out. But Staley, nobody is in love with Staley. The casual fan, I think, doesn't understand what he's trying to do in terms of following the analytics. And I think the analytics community feels like he kind of abandoned them because he sort of split the baby last year and he kind of lost some of his philosophy. So he's just sort of stuck in no man's land. You can't really tell what his point of view is. And the injuries obviously are going to hurt. Okay.
I mean, listen, there is talent there too. I mean, that's a problem with this exercise. They are loaded with all pros. I mean, they're a really good team. They should be good, but someone's got to fall out.
All right, my first team that I think is not going to make the playoffs.
It's tough, Maggie.
If we're talking about the whole AFC North is minus money, yes, then
close enough.
Then I'm gonna go with the Browns. I don't think the Browns are making the playoffs. And if you are asking me, I'm going more towards this goes totally off the rails for the Browns than it does everything falls in line and everything's awesome. First of all, you 100% get the injury concerns usually year after year with the Browns. And Deshaun Watson, am I convinced that he's all of a sudden now after basically 3 years, we're kind of going on 3 years, 2.5 of him really not playing football or playing football at a high level. And I think Stefanski's a guy who's definitely on the hot seat. And here's the other part of this. I think expectations for the Browns are really high because the Watson contract, because I think he's desperate to show that he can still play quarterback at a high level. And so the expectations are out of whack with maybe what this team really is. So I'm going to say Browns not making the playoffs.
They're slightly plus money. They're basically plus 115. They're even money. So that's a good one. I'll go next one. I'm going to do my second one is Miami. They're minus 110 to make the playoffs. But I mean, I'm not even going to go as obvious as the Tua health. The Tua health.
That's a given.
That's a given that's the main concern with this
It's
team.
okay, though. He's doing jiu-jitsu now.
And actually, I kind of like you. I kind of like Mike White. But listen, I think there's two really, really good, solid teams with depth in that division, and that's the Jets and the Bills. I do not necessarily, even with Vic Fangio there, see it all coming together with Miami. It's easy for me. Jalen Ramsey got hurt, and really I don't think he's going to be effective all year. I know he's coming back halfway through. So the Ramsey injury was the last thing I need to see. I think it's going to be tough for them to stay healthy and compete in this division. They're going to be good, but I think that they just barely fall out.
Okay.
Or they go to the Super Bowl. One of those two things.
It could be either one. Okay.
I know you love the Miami, too. And
I do. I mean, listen, they almost beat the Bills in the playoffs last year with Skylar Thompson. All right, my next one, this is not going to be popular, but I'm going to go back to the AFC North on this one. I think it's possible the Ravens don't make the playoffs.
Okay.
That's unpopular. I'm very interested to see how the new offense goes with Todd Monken there as opposed to Greg Roman. But year one of a new offense, do you have some, you got to work out the kinks a little bit. You gave Odell Beckham some serious money. Is he going to stay healthy? You're paying him $15 million a year. The guy's had 2 ACLs, and he's over 30.
That whole unit is going to be on the IR by week 5. You're so right about that.
Listen, and we're all in favor of Lamar getting his money. I don't think Lamar is going to be a problem. I think that he's going to look good, and the defense will be there to keep you in games. But are they going to have enough offensive firepower? I just don't know. I'm going to pick the Ravens to miss the playoffs.
I'll tell you one thing about that team. The NFL Network re-aired the playoff game against the Bengals, and it was Snoop Huntley against. I mean, they play hard for John Harbaugh.
They do play
I will
hard.
give you that, but they just keep getting hurt. And Rashad Bateman's been hurt. Odell Beckham has been hurt. Lamar has been hurt. Don't discount that. He's played 12 games 2 years in a row. I think if I had to bet, I would totally bet with you. That's a team that could fall off. I think I'm having them go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I know. It's gonna either that or they're going to beat the Bills in the playoffs, and now I'm going to end up eating those words big time.
I just feel like they're a very tough team, but they've been running the same problem every year. Injuries. You can't predict that, but it feels like you bring in Odell Beckham as your big signing. Like, what do you expect to happen?
Well, and, according to Peter King, though, on the plus side here for the Ravens, Peter King, in his latest column, Football Morning in America, said Zay Flowers is the most impressive rookie he's seen so far.
All right.
So there you go for the pro Baltimore crowd. 855-2124-CBS. Bradley is in Utah. He's got some hot takes on who will miss the playoffs. Hey, Bradley.
Howdy. How are you?
Doing great. What's on your mind?
So, honestly, I think that the Jaguars may miss the playoffs. I think that last year could be a fluke. I think the same thing with the Eagles, honestly. I could see that the Eagles had the easier schedule last year. Some other teams that could barely miss, I could see the Broncos making a good run this year, but I just don't think I could see them making it with, clearly the quarterback situation. But there's just some teams that were, Super Bowl contenders level, and now I could honestly see it just being a 1 year and they're done type of deal.
Interesting. Bradley, thank you for the phone call.
Yeah, the Broncos are interesting, too. Their odds aren't great to make the playoffs, but we do expect them to be better. So I think that'd be severe disappointment if they don't make the playoffs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, people will be mad.
You paid Russell Wilson a ton of money, and you missed on the head coach last time, and now you brought in Sean Payton. Not only that, you traded first-round pick, second-round pick, third-round pick. You paid a king's ransom for Payton, and you're paying him a ton of money. You spent $200 million in free agency. They have no excuses. I don't think anyone wants to hear, if you're a Bronco fan, you do not want to hear, oh, well, the AFC is tough. It's like, well, that's why you traded for a future Hall of Famer.
I would disagree a little bit. I think the bar has lowered a little bit because they were so bad last year. They effectively, if they win 8 or 9 games, I think that'll be okay.
I think Sean Payton re-upped the bar after his comments taking aim at Nathaniel Hackett and the Jets. He put the spotlight right back on himself. I don't think there's any hiding. He called out the Jets, then he had to walk it back.
Yeah.
And you're going to have people, if things go well for the Jets, they're going to revel in the fact that the Broncos, if they do poorly, are doing poorly.
I think Sean Payton, because it's the first year, only has to get to 9 wins. And he's totally safe and fine.
And what happens with Russell Wilson then? They run it back?
9, I think, because of the salary cap hit, probably.
They owe him so much money.
I'm sure they'd love to get out of that. But I see there's a middle path for them where they can at least be just okay. I mean, they have a lot of help coming back this year. They basically have a free agent class of injured players from last year returning. What about the Jags? Now, you're really high on the Jags, and I get it. But last year, it was a must-win game to get into the playoffs. They're facing a Titans team that had lost 1 million games in a row with Josh Dobbs off the street playing quarterback, and they went deep into the fourth quarter against the Titans, who hadn't won in 2 months, and barely won that game. Now, I know then they went and beat the Chargers, but I understand what that caller was saying. Is there a chance the Jags fall off?
I don't think so, and I think the opposite is going to happen. I think Trevor Lawrence turns into an MVP candidate this year. I think that that's not a fluke. I think that they get even better this year, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Jags really go on a run here. I don't think that Trevor Lawrence is a fluke. I think what happened to Trevor Lawrence is that first year with Urban Meyer couldn't have been worse. So basically last year he was a rookie, and last year as a rookie, ostensibly, he got his team to come back from a 24-0 deficit to beat the Chargers and then almost had Kansas City.
No, they didn't.
That was a close game in the playoffs.
There was never a point where Kansas City went. Yeah, they backdoor covered, but there was never a point where Kansas City was less than plus 800 to win that game.
Okay, but they didn't fall on their faces in Kansas City in a really tough game. So to me, that bodes well. These are things to build on if you're the Jags. This isn't, okay, now you just go away.
Well, I mean, they do have an advantage here. They have a really easy path to the playoffs. Then we'll see what happens. We've seen a lot of AFC South teams get to the playoffs and lose in the first round. The Titans, the Colts with Peyton Manning all the time. Listen, that happens. They should be in good shape in this division, which we'll see. The other thing, they have the same problem everyone else does. They might win their division and then face the Jets or face the
really
Ravens. Yeah, there's going to be no easy path, even if they do win the division.
Wow, the Jets are the tough team?
I don't know.
The Jets have the difficult path? I love this. This doesn't happen.
Here's what I was surprised.
The Jaguars against Aaron Rodgers, who's a veteran quarterback.
Here's what I was surprised about, right? Yeah. So the NFL did their top 100 list, which is they survey the players. So the players are the ones who do these rankings, and they put it out on NFL.com. There were 14 quarterbacks who made it into the top 100, according to the players. 96th, Trevor Lawrence. 96. Kind of low.
Yeah,
no?
Justin Fields ahead of him.
They had Fields ahead of him, Tua, Geno ahead of him. Obviously, Lamar. Lamar was criminally underrated. I know I just said I don't think the Ravens are going to make the playoffs, but to put Lamar Jackson behind Jared Goff, that doesn't seem right.
Yeah.
Mahomes was one, by the way. Hurts was the second highest rated quarterback on this list. Then Burrow, Allen, Herbert, yada, yada, yada.
To be fair, Jared Goff's been to a Super Bowl and Lamar Jackson has not.
That's true.
Which is crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, I mean,
I think Goff is set up for such success this year that regardless, 72 is insane he should be like 11 or something.
Yeah, for Lamar.
But the whole list is not friendly enough to quarterbacks. You said it yourself. The top three, Patrick Mahomes and Justin Jefferson, makes no sense. But Jalen Hurts is 3. Did that surprise you that Jalen Hurts is, in the players' opinion, the second best quarterback in the NFL?
I get it, because I think a lot of players would want to play with Jalen Hurts. So I think that's maybe how they're thinking about it.
But if you were going to fill out this questionnaire and you had Joe Burrow there and Josh Allen, who've accomplished more than Jalen Hurts done it 1 year.
Well, he did go to the Super Bowl, so technically he's accomplished more than Josh Allen.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. But Josh Allen's been, how many times has he been an All-Pro? It's just a lot more experience. I don't know how these guys voted. I do like some of the picks a lot, and I don't like others.
Why don't you like Justin Jefferson at number 2?
He's not even the best wide receiver, and why would a wide receiver be above all the quarterbacks?
Well, they had more wide receivers than anyone on this list. 16 wide receivers made this list the highest of any position group.
I think Justin Jefferson.
Passing league, yo.
I love Justin Jefferson, but he is definitely a product of Kirk Cousins in that offense. Kirk Cousins just creates numbers for wide receivers because he's got that Eli thing where he throws the ball with tons of loft, has 1 million yards. Like he just.
You think that Justin Jefferson is a product of Kirk Cousins?
Yeah, in that offense, big time. Kirk Cousins.
That's a hot take.
I would not agree with that.
Look at the numbers that Cousins' receivers always have. They always do really well.
Okay, and that's fine. And the offense could be user-friendly, and that's not a bad thing for a wide receiver.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, there were throws last year where I feel like Cousins was trying to put these into really tight windows, and it could have been awful if he wasn't throwing it to Justin Jefferson.
One play against your Bills.
No, the whole game, quite frankly, against the Bills. But even beyond that.
Cousins Cousins is just if you're a receiver, you love a quarterback like Kirk Cousins because he just throws a soft, nice ball. He's never going to win you a playoff game, probably. But, I mean, this goes back. He's very much like Eli. Every receiver loved playing with Eli. Eli was not the best quarterback, but threw such a catchable football. He threw it with a lot of air underneath it. Cousins the same way. Like, this is just like, he just churned out a lot of yards. He's probably going to throw for 4,600 yards again this year. Somebody's got to get those yards, right? Or am I totally? You guys
think
totally
Justin
disagree
Jefferson
with me?
is one of those guys where he could be playing with whoever and he's going to look good.
Jefferson, I think, is a stud. I mean, his route running is unreal.
You guys say that about that's never been true of any wide receiver in the history of the NFL.
Well, Terry
except for
McLaurin.
Devontae Adams
Wes
last
Welker
year.
wasn't a great route runner.
No, I'm just saying there's never anybody who's independent of their quarterback. Wide receivers are so dependent on their quarterback.
Well, Tim Brown
they
makes
need
the Hall
quarterback
of Fame
to get the ball.
playing with 20 different quarterbacks.
I mean, Randy Moss made everybody he played with when he was actually trying look good. I mean, Dante Culpepper,
what was his
I love
best
him,
year?
but like, what?
His best year
was with Tom Brady, but he was pretty darn good with Dante Culpepper and
Randall Cunningham
and whoever else was there.
Dante Culpepper is, he's amazing.
Yeah, and he was terrible in Miami.
And look at exactly. Look at Dante Culpepper
was a
anywhere else
great
without Randy Moss.
Let's slow your train there a second. Dante Culpepper before he got hurt was a great quarterback.
I just think you have example, Terry McLaurin made this list top 100. He's been playing with not very accomplished quarterbacks, and I'm being kind there.
But Larry Fitzgerald, the non-Kurt Warner years.
Yeah.
No, I understand. There are a few exceptions.
guys-
Larry Fitzgerald's an all-time exception. I mean, generally,
I think we're talking about Jefferson as maybe being in that pack. Like if you took Jefferson off of this team and put him on, I don't know, the Bucks this year, I still think he's going to get his.
I don't. I mean, the Bucks have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. They're not going to get theirs.
I'm just saying with the quarterbacks, you gotta.
No. My point. Mike Evans is even more spectacular than Justin Jefferson, and his numbers are going to go way down. He's much more athletic than Justin Jefferson.
He had great seasons before Tom Brady came up.
I know.
With Jameis, who's an incredible wide receiver.
It was an interception machine.
Jameis threw 5,000 yards. Jameis could create a lot of yards.
And how many picks did he throw that year?
30. That doesn't affect Mike Evans.
A ton.
Right. Which doesn't affect Mike Evans' numbers at all. He doesn't care if you throw picks. This is about wide receiver getting yards, right?
Wait, but I'm not. When I said Justin Jefferson put him on the Bucks, he could do well. I'm not talking about he's got to compete with Mike Evans.
No. My point. Mike Evans.
Touches.
Justin Jefferson's fantastic, but he's not as big, strong, and fast and as athletic as Mike Evans. Mike Evans will catch a 50-50 ball all over the place, and he can't even do anything with Baker Mayfield and Kyle Trask. Why would Jefferson be any different?
I think Jefferson's that good. First of all, let's see what happens with Mike Evans this year, but let's see how motivated everyone is, on that Bucks team. Because I don't know what's going on.
And Jefferson was, I know he played on a stacked LSU team, but he was also like the guy there.
Well, no, he was definitely second fiddle.
In the year they won the championship?
Yeah, look at the numbers. I'm sure Chase had more yards.
Oh, they were close. I don't know.
I feel like Chase is actually. I said that to Maggie before the show. I was like, he's not even the best receiver out of his college in the last 10 years. I mean, Chase is pretty special, too.
I love Chase. I love them both. I
do, too.
I mean, I know. I'm just...
But
how about this? Jamar Chase, according to this top 100, 39th on the list, whereas Justin Jefferson is 2.
Right. Explain.
But I think it's because Jefferson's a more polished receiver. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, it goes beyond just, like, height, weight, speed. Like, he has amazing hands, and he's a great route runner. He's always open.
He's okay. Would you take him over Tyreek Hill, who's number 8 on this list?
Yeah. Tyreek Hill's a one-trick pony. He's fast, but like...
One-trick pony that you can use is such a difference maker all over the field.
He's such a great difference maker. The Chiefs went on and won a Super Bowl without him.
But Miami had the best offense in the league last year when he was playing.
Right. Also with Jalen Waddle, too, who's there as well. They had 2 super fast guys.
You also wonder about Hill if/when the speed starts to diminish. I know he's got great hands, but once the speed starts to diminish, how much does that take away from his game? Because that's the difference maker with Tyreek Hill. It's like the yards after catch. It's insane.
Justin Jefferson is basically Cooper Kupp from 2 years ago. He's great, but he's so dependent on a lot of things around him.
Oh, see, I think this poll is telling you here what people think, that Jefferson is good, and that because Jamar Chase has Joe Burrow, that he gets put down to 39.
Well, that's silly.
And it is interesting because I know when Jefferson the new coach came over, O'Connell, he told McConnell, hey, I want to be in those Cooper Kupp situations, which is essentially what we saw in terms of the numbers. So I think that I think if anything, maybe Kevin McConnell has more to do with Jefferson's spike than even Kirk Cousins.
But Cousins is good at executing those kind of plays. I mean, you saw the quarterback series. The dude knows how to do a play fake.
The memory room.
He knows
Weirdo.
how to do a play fake and throw it 18 yards down the field against the Bears on meaningless yards. The dude is like A-Rod. He gets more meaningless yards, and Justin Jefferson's sitting right there to catch them.
Empty calories, 855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Let us know what you think on the topic. Perloff thinks Justin Jefferson overrated.
No, I think he's awesome, but I do think he's a bit of a system guy. So number 2 overall on this list makes no sense to me.
Coming up, one athlete makes a massive prediction. Will it come true? We'll get to that in just a moment. Don't move. Maggie and Perloff on CBS Sports Radio.
You're in a 5-minute break.
Yep. You ready? Oh. This is Andrew Perloff with an Odyssey Sports Minute sponsored by Angie. Sorry. Is that okay? Okay. This is Andrew Perloff with an Odyssey Sports Minute sponsored by Angie. It's easier than ever to get home projects done well. Get started at Angie.com. This is Andrew Perloff with a CBS Sports Minute sponsored by Angie. It's easier than ever to get home projects done well. Get started at Angie.com. Hard Knocks makes its debut tonight on HBO. It's a program that's lost some luster because we have so much access to behind-the-scenes footage every day. It's hard to stand out. So what did the league do? It turned to the one man who can save Hard Knocks just like he's trying to save the New York Jets. That's Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers said he didn't want to do it, but once the cameras start rolling, I'm sure Rodgers can't help himself. He's going to be entertaining, and I, for one, can't wait to tune in. I'm Andrew Perloff. Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff Show. So, Maggie, you know the one thing that I monitor all summer long is shark activity on the East Coast. And unfortunately, we had a shark attack on the beach in Brooklyn that my kids go to pretty much every week. Monday afternoon, there was a rip current warning. Otherwise, my daughter would have been out in the water and somebody got attacked by a shark. Not funny at all, but my general fear of sharks is kind of funny because I take it to the 100th degree.
I was thinking about this. You are so scared of sharks, but you're also scared generally about the end of the world.
Not scared as much as preparing.
Preparing, right? You're constantly thinking about it.
Yeah, I'm reading about it. I'm watching shows about it. That's really the only kind of shows they make anymore, end of the world shows.
But it's like, I always think that in a weird way, you're almost more concerned about a shark attack than you are like the world ending, which doesn't make any sense. You should be more concerned about the world ending than the shark attack.
Yeah,
right?
but
the stakes are higher.
Stakes are definitely higher, but the fact that sharks have changed so much, like now the places where I'm actually swimming have shark attacks all the time.
Yeah.
I actually physically saw a great white shark raise out of the water in Cape Cod. Now, what the heck? That did not happen when we were kids, Maggie.
No, it didn't.
Something is going on. And by the way,
the water's too warm, I
think.
think.
The two are likely connected, sadly. What happened was in Cape Cod and in Long Island, they protected the seals, this new environmental initiative to protect the seals. So now the sharks, so the problem is, too, they're multiplying. So this summer is bad. In 10 summers, you're probably not going to be able to swim in Long Island. I'm not joking around.
Wait, so this must be happening then all over the country? In other parts, because if it's happening around here, it doesn't have to be happening like in California and other places in the Gulf of Mexico.
The seal population in the Northeast is a specific problem. I think it's seals, one animal. You can't swim in the Pacific. It's too cold anyway. So, yeah, I mean, if you go out in the San Francisco Bay, you're basically, first of all, it's too cold, but second of all, you know you're going to get eaten by a shark. There's no question about it.
Okay. And there's no question.
If you want to see, during the break, if you want me to show you 9 videos of great whites right off the coast of Alcatraz
I don't want
seals.
you to, but I'm also, that's never going to be in my wheelhouse because I don't swim in the ocean generally. But if we were going to rank end of the worlds, like for you, you're like, what are you? Like nuclear, something nuclear first, because that's what you're always prepping
What's
for.
going to happen?
Yeah.
I'm not, yeah, I guess so. I think the biggest threat of all the threats, we all know the threats that are out there.
Yeah.
Let's do a draft.
What's your
Why don't we do a draft?
End of the world draft?
End of the world draft. What's going to be done?
Okay.
I'll go first.
The problem is, how are we going to pay this off? Because if one of them hits,
we'll know.
How are we ever going to know?
We'll know.
Well, because I feel like most end-of-the-world scenarios will give you some warning, right? There'll be like some level of like, hey, here comes blank. We've got 3 months to live or 3 days to live.
Yeah.
And then we can pay it off in that time period.
Great. So congrats if you're the big winner of this draft.
Should we go? Let's do everybody. Let's do all 4 because I have a list. I have a bunch of them. I'll go first with nuclear proliferation.
Well,
That's my number 1 pick.
Okay. I'm going to go meteor. I feel like we're kind of due for a meteor. It's been, 65 million years since the dinosaurs were extinct, right? We're due.
Well, yeah, but can't we just send out a bunch of Texas drillers?
Yeah.
Like Ben Affleck?
Yeah, Bruce Willis is retired.
Yeah. I've seen movies on this. It's okay. So that's a good one. But
Sam,
I'll take the next pick, and I think you guys are missing it. I mean, Congress is even talking about it. The aliens are going to attack. They're already here. They're coming back again, and they're going to take us out.
Aliens, okay.
Aliens for Samter. EJ, what do you have?
2 picks, EJ. It's a snake draft.
I mean, it sounds bad, but I'm thinking like a nuclear situation.
No, I already took that off.
You took it. Oh, it's a draft. I thought it was
Sorry, Caleb Williams is off the board.
Oh, my God. You guys are taking the best picks.
So we had nuclear, meteor, and aliens.
EJ's too young. He's not obsessed
those are all the ones I would have taken.
I can't
Volcano's still out there.
That's what I was thinking. I'll go volcano. That was the one I was thinking about.
I mean, I'm worried about it. What about, now it's a snake draft, so you still have tsunami sitting out there.
That's a good one, too.
Put up good numbers in college.
There's just no way.
I'm
I mean,
sorry.
first of all, you might get a tsunami after volcano or vice versa.
Oh, they are connected.
I guess earthquakes and tsunamis.
Earthquakes.
EJ, you've not spent nearly enough time thinking about the end of the world. Clearly.
I mean, this is a depressing topic. Why would I think so much about that?
You're wearing a Jets t-shirt.
Right, I've gone through enough misery. Got to have some hope.
I mean, maybe a jet season could be the end of the world. So I think you're thinking the wrong side of the spectrum with the volcanoes. It's not going to be the fire that kills it. It's going to be the ice, the melting of the ice, right? The ice caps are going to melt. The waters are going to flood.
Is this
New
an
York
official
City,
pick?
This is my official pick. The waters are going to flood. New York City is going to be underwater. You're only going to see the crown of the Statue of Liberty and her hand sticking out.
Like the end of Planet of the Apes?
Yes. They blew it up. Oh, good Lord, they blew it up. Or I just destroyed that entire line. But that line is what we're going to have.
Oh, man. Is it back to me?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's two obvious ones we left. Maybe they're obvious to me.
All right, well, I think the draft's kind of falling apart. I feel like Ackerman could actually be good on
But
this
you
one.
know that. One, we haven't mentioned one that is in the news every single day of the week, every day, every month, the entire year. That's going to cause the end of the world.
What's that?
Artificial intelligence.
Oh, AI. Yes, end of humanity. They already said that.
In fact, there's no way number 6, AI should be higher than 6. This is a draft bargain for you, Maggie.
I will take AI.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, well, thank you for giving. Are you going to give it to me? I mean, I'll take it. All right, hand me Myles Garrett. I mean, this is a strong pick here. And what do you have to finish out the draft? You got anything else?
By the way, for me, I'm obsessed with sharks and all the end of the world. Terminator-like scenarios are a huge part of my daily psyche.
But is Terminator kind of close to aliens? He came from a different planet, didn't he?
No, it's AI.
Oh, AI. Okay.
No, he didn't come from a different planet. He came from the future
Oh,
because
he came from the
robots.
future.
Right. So when
I just watched the Arnold
when
documentary.
future
Bad
Andrew
job,
Perloff runs in and says, "Unplug the toaster," the robots have taken over. I will know immediately what to do.
Believe him.
But the number one, I mean, is it too much of a stretch to say Contagion, a pandemic?
Oh, another one? Yeah, it's a little too soon.
Well, I mean, I've seen enough movies where certain.
We're going back to back on these?
No.
Like-
No, this is you only get 2 picks.
No. I'm saying we just came out of a pandemic, so we're going to go into a new pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that in some ways maybe we got lucky with this one. Who knows? Of course, that was terrible.
No, Dustin Hoffman's going to come save us all.
But no, I've watched enough movies. Viruses are a major concern. Major.
You know, nobody took zombie apocalypse on this one.
Seems a little fantastic.
Yeah, I'm not buying
far-fetched. All right, just saying.
I will say, if I had a second pick, it'd be Earth core. Something with the Earth core is actually overheated.
Like hobbits?
No.
No, like the Earth explodes.
How to make that connection from there?
We're not talking about Middle Earth. We're talking about Earth's core.
Yeah,
so you say.
Yeah, something with the Earth's
Middle
core
of the
gets
Earth.
overheated.
Ackerman, you want to get in on this end of the world draft?
I'd have to think about. I mean, I would like to, but I'd have to think what I would draft or who I would draft.
Well, how do you think the world's going to end?
Yeah.
Explosion.
Big Bang.
Yeah.
Still on the board. There you go.
There you go. Is this
All
like
right,
a
Ackerman. Well, if this
like a
happens,
snake
you're the
draft?
big winner. Yeah.
I get 2 picks now.
Listen, if any of these are going to be terrible, if any of them happen, but at least we will have the satisfaction of remembering this draft and be like, oh yeah, EJ nailed it with the tsunami.
Volcano. Yeah. Who knew?
Volcano.
855.
If I missed the pick.
Jeffrey, how in the chat? Gas station sushi. You know, it's one by one. It's just going to pick us off.
AKA tsunami.
Explosions in bathrooms.
AKA volcano.
Or when that day comes, the reaction will be like, I was going to go with that one. Perloff.
I know.
Perloff went first.
I know. As the Terminators are marching down Broadway, I'll be like,
wait,
you shouldn't have given me AI.
Do we have a Maggie and Perloff disaster plan? If disaster strikes, does anyone know what to do? Any kind of
Do we band together?
Does our office even have a first aid kit, let alone anything to help us?
Yeah, we have that.
Oh, we do?
We got
Okay.
Band-Aids.
It's in the kitchen.
Don't
It's in
worry.
the kitchen? Yeah.
Fire extinguisher, I'm sure.
I don't know.
I've seen one here. I think I've seen one.
I mean, we are in a bizarrely cordon. I mean, if there was a fire, there's like 9 magnetic doors to get through to get out of here.
You can't get out of here. There's no shot.
I'm knocking on wood.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Ron Solo says eruption of Yellowstone. What do we have there? Like geysers? I feel like Mad Dog. I don't know why. Geysers.
Yeah. I've been to Yellowstone, and there is a geyser. Have you been to that geyser?
No.
But I don't know how that would
Old
end
Faithful?
the world. The geyser, goes about 12 to 15 feet away from the center.
How about, Brian's just says hide in the closet. That's what I would do. I've got no plan.
There's no closet here, but okay.
I mean, just a closet. Find it. Hide it as a janitor's closet. Sure.
All right. That's your best plan.
I got nothing. I'm not suited for life after the apocalypse. I know that. I'm not going to be like siphoning off gas from things and like trying to live.
Not like Will Smith and I Am Legend.
No, I can't even go camping, guys.
Seen it 100 times. Have memorized I Am Legend. There's this show on HBO called Station 11 it talks about how long gas lasts. So 2 years for car gas, 5 years for airplane gas.
I know you're storing all of this in your brain. I've got none
everything,
of it.
but I have no actionable items that I can actually do. I have no skills whatsoever. Is anyone here good with a crossbow or a bow and arrow?
I did take archery when I was like 11,
in
so
camp?
I feel like I can hit like the yellow of a bullseye.
Yeah, all right, Jennifer Lawrence and Hunger Games. Not
Maggie,
They're coming after us. I got his kneecap.
You grew up in Binghamton, New York. You must have used a bow and arrow at certain times.
Does it look like I used a bow and arrow at times? No, absolutely not.
How did you guys get food in Binghamton, New York?
I know it's a miracle that any of us survived. On a happier note, for the Weedo recipe book, which does not include anything need to be killed by a bow and arrow, just buy things at the store. Mike in California every week has been putting together different recipes for the Weedo recipe book. So this week it's smoked pork loin stuffed with cream cheese, jalapenos, roasted garlic, and mushrooms with a habanero mango hot honey glaze.
Wow.
I knew you would like that.
That does sound great. Although I think Mike also, for the theme, should come up with certain recipes for the apocalypse.
Like
Cannibalistic.
Can of beans.
Barbecued Mike.
Any leftover ack. Sorry, Ack.
That does sound good. We're going to have Mike watch the Scoville level. That sounds super spicy, Maggie.
I think it sounds great. 855-2124-CBS.
Perloff, you can handle any Scoville level at this point.
Yeah, baby.
You've climbed Everest, and now everything else is below you.
You won the challenge. Quickly, James is in Arizona. The topic, super volcano. Hi, James. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Doing great. What do you have?
So, and just in case you guys don't know, the largest supervolcano in the world hides underneath Yellowstone.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that.
That's why they're saying that they say if that erupts, the whole world goes under pretty much.
Ah, yeah. Now Brian is saying Maggie doesn't know about the supervolcano. You're right. I don't.
I didn't know about that either.
Yeah, that's the largest supervolcano in the world. It hides right underneath Yellowstone.
A lot of tourists at Yellowstone.
Yeah, I know. Take them all out at once, huh?
Well, that'd be terrible. James, thank you so much.
Bad.
Well, appreciate that.
Yeah,
Nobody
his point is right. Forget about volcanoes. It's the supervolcano. That's the one that's going to destroy the world.
Yeah, that seems like someone new has entered the chat.
Yeah, just do you know about the supervolcano? They live under the ground, and there's just all of this gas and energy built up over, volcanoes erupt over time.
Yeah.
These things have been there for centuries, thousands, millennia, and eventually when they explode, these supervolcanoes, and nobody knows when it's going to happen.
Wait, but we just did our end of the world draft, and you picked aliens. Why didn't you pick supervolcano?
Well, because supervolcanoes, we don't know when it's going to happen. Aliens are coming within the next 3 to 5 years.
By the way, if I could go back, if I had a third round, I would have put a Meg on there because, listen, gigantic prehistoric sharks, that stuff can happen.
Yeah.
And I'm so psyched to see Meg 2. Has anyone seen it yet?
I haven't even seen Meg 1, and I want to see Meg 2.
I can't believe they're only at the second one. I figured we're easily Meg 5, 6, 7. Yeah.
Oh, there will be.
Yeah.
The Megs are good.
This is Jason Statham is going to be. This is his third house.
Yeah, I highly recommend Meg 1. I haven't seen Meg 2 yet, but I know it's going to be good.
I'm surprised I didn't get in there with Barbie and Oppenheimer. No one was like, I'm triple feature, and also Meg 2.
Well, it was a week later. Trust me, Meg 2 is not wanting for dollars. It has been quite the hit.
855-212-4CBS, 855-212-4227. Nothing but uppers around here on the Maggie and Perloff show. An end of the earth draft. Good luck to all of us.
I just want to say, if there's a super volcano, I feel like both of my picks would win.
I actually
volcano and a core issue with the Earth.
I think you were smart to say that. You said volcanoes. I think super volcano also is in there. Okay. I'm glad you got that distinction
How
in
you
there,
have a straight
EJ.
face right now, EJ? I don't understand.
Don't get shortchanged on this one. Coming up, well, it was a major fight that happened in Major League Baseball. Turns out there was a lot more going on behind the scenes. We got some more for you on that crazy story. After this CBS Sports Update, here's Rich Ackerman.
CBS Sports Radio. Sports Flash.
Well, the standoff between the Colts and Jonathan Taylor took another turn today. with Taylor still on the physically unable to perform list and rehabbing his injured ankle off-site. The Pro Bowl running back has been frustrated over the lack of progress toward an extension. Nyheim Hines' season is officially over following reconstructive knee surgery. The Bills running back suffered the injury in a freak accident while sitting on a jet ski. Shane McClanahan's season is most likely over. Manager Kevin Cash said it's unlikely the All-Star lefty will pitch again after suffering a forearm injury. Baseball today, and right now, the first of two in Philadelphia. The Phillies fell behind Washington 3-0, but came right back with Kyle Schwarber hitting a pair of home runs, giving him 30 for the season. Alec Boehm has also gone deep, and Philadelphia leads Washington by a score of 6-3. The Nationals getting home runs from Lane Thomas, his 20th, as well as Keibert Ruiz hitting his 12th. The Rangers have had a surprisingly good season, looking to seize the day as they go for their 8th in a row tonight in Oakland, with Max Scherzer, one of their big pickups at the trade deadline, making his second start. I'm Rich Emerson.
Looking for CBS Sports Radio online? Your favorite hosts and the best sports content and entertainment are available 24/7 on social media and YouTube, and in the palm of your hand with the free Odyssey app.
Welcome back to Maggie and Perloff. If you missed our end of the world draft, I think Perloff just tweeted it out at Andrew Perloff. So hopefully I don't get canceled for that. But things have been getting really, really bad for Tim Anderson. Now, we all had a good laugh at Tim Anderson's expense because he and Jose Ramirez, he squared up, Tim Anderson of the White Sox, obviously, squared up when Jose Ramirez slid into second base, and Tim Anderson squares up like he's, Marvin Hagler, and all of a sudden Jose Ramirez just starts wildly swinging and catches Tim Anderson on the chin, and down goes Anderson, and the call was incredible, and it was like a down goes Frazier situation. Turns out things have been really, really bad. Now, not only was Tim Anderson getting trolled by the Cleveland Guardians minor league team, who is now holding, what was it, Samter? Was it Tim Anderson night for the Guardians minor league affiliate? What was going on with that? Do you have the details there? Well, you get the details.
No, I have it right here.
Okay.
So this is the captains. It is the, the Lake County Captains playing in Classic Park is the name of their it's called Jose Ramirez Appreciation Week. All fans named Tim get a free ticket to get to sit down on the grass. I'm assuming they're not sitting on the field during play. My thought is that there probably are like grass seats, kind of like, a small stadium where you can kind of sit and watch the game. Now, they did clarify anybody whose name was Tim, Timothy, Timmy, Timbo, Timma, anything Tim related counts in this Appreciation Week. You also, if you wear your Jose Ramirez jersey, you get a free Bam Bam in the cargo hold, which I don't know what a Bam Bam is, but it sounds like you just knock somebody out. And here's the cool part. Apparently they have an 80s arcade, and they had a punch-out competition. So there's that. Yeah, so trolling Tim Anderson, who is having an all-time bad season. Now, this is getting even worse. According to Shane Reardon, who's the executive producer for the Parkins and Spiegel show on 670 The Score in Chicago, Tim Anderson got into it with teammate Yasmani Grandal less than a month ago. According to this report, and coming out of Chicago on July 9th, Yasmani Grandal slapped Tim Anderson in the face, and the two had to be separated in the clubhouse prior to a game against the Cardinals. Oof. Wow. Whoa. So things are getting really bad. Now let's add into it the fact that one of the White Sox players who was traded to the Yankees at the trade deadline came out and said this is the worst culture that he's ever been a part of. He said rookies were sleeping in the bullpen. He said guys were not being held accountable, and it was terrible. And they said, well, maybe this is new manager this year. Obviously, Tony La Russa last year, he said no, he had heard from guys that it was just like this last year too, and Tony La Russa had totally lost the clubhouse.
There you go. Tim Anderson's mystifying. He led the league in hitting in 2019 at 335, then at 322, 309, 301, hitting 242 this year. So clearly, I'm going to assume that this friction, both the fight the other day and whatever happened in the locker room, is it because he's struggling? He's just mad at everybody?
I have no idea. But, Tim Anderson has had some pretty big moments so far in his career, considering, the team hasn't been, all that great. But he had that moment, and I remember the Field of Dreams game they played against the Yankees. Remember when, Kevin Costner was there, and they were doing the whole thing in Iowa, and he ended up winning the game on a walk-off in extra innings, I believe. He's had some moments for sure.
He has one home run in 88 games.
Can you believe it?
And he's not, he's not a power hitter, but he's hit 20 home runs in a season. How do you hit one home run in today's baseball? Something is really off with this guy. I would like to see if the guy's sleeping in the bullpen and all that. Sounds like a good mini 30 for 30.
What happened to the White Sox of 2023?
I generally don't pay that much attention to the White Sox, but now you piqued my interest.
Let's get to our shot of the day.
He shoots!
And the shot of the day is brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos is brought to you by those who drink it. But today's shot of the day also comes from baseball. We're talking about the embarrassing situation with the Orioles suspending their play-by-play announcer, Kevin Brown. Why this guy gets suspended is like beyond anybody.
Yeah, I mean, they should have fired him, is what you mean, right?
I mean, in Perloff's world, yes.
It's like typical baseball. Like, it is a sensitive sport. Like in football, everybody just knocks each other's head off and move on. Baseball is kind of namby-pamby, and this is pretty typical of it.
Namby-pamby.
Also, too, the Orioles have kind of a loser mentality, right? Like,
It definitely is loser mentality. If you can't enjoy when you're 70 and 42, you'll never enjoy anything.
Yeah.
You will never be happy. There you go. I stand by it.
You will never be happy.
I don't think so.
Well, I guess if they win the World Series, then it'll be good, but...
I don't know. I mean, 70 and 42, it's only August 8th. They're leading the AL East, and this is they haven't done anything yet in the postseason, I understand, but no one's been this excited about the Orioles in a long, long time, and now they have this unnecessary, self-inflicted, bad press by having their announcer have to have a play-by-play have a suspension just for stating facts. He didn't even it wasn't even an opinion.
But does this actually impact the team and other players in any way, shape, or form? Be like, oh man, our play-by-play TV guy got suspended. That's going to ruin our year.
No, but I think when something's off in the organization.
Doesn't he travel with the team too?
I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm sure they know him fairly well.
Definitely.
Well, yeah, I mean, something might be off, but I do think that there's a layer between the players, and the players are playing for their contract, and they get that. I don't know if they really care. Like, my sense is
They might not.
They
But
care about themselves and the team.
But this is definitely one of those situations just so avoidable. Avoidable. How about this? You really didn't like what he said, which, again, I don't know why. It's just facts. I don't know. Why don't you call the guy? Why don't you shoot him an email? Why don't you talk to his boss? Why don't you say anything? It just to go to this option just made no sense. Anyway.
I can't wait to hear what he says on Friday when he returns. Does he apologize?
For what?
I don't know. Like, what's his first line when he goes back? Just pretend nothing happened?
I would. Anyway, thank you so much to Mike Sander. Thank you to DJ Stewart. Thank you to the Weedos, the Purple Drankers. Thanks to Adam Carricker, who joined us earlier on in the show. We'll see you tomorrow for a lot more fun. Peace.
You're in a 5-minute break.